Welcome to the 59th episode of the Triple Takeover Toycast. And this is one that we've been thinking about doing for a little while now because it's Rise of the Beasts. We've all seen it. We've all got opinions on it, I think it's fair to say. And we're going to talk about it. It's that simple. There is going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the film, then I'd suggest that you take caution from here on in, because I can't guarantee what's going to happen or what's going to be said. With me as ever are my two usual co-hosts. First up, we've got M.A.S. from TSquareone.
Happy beasting.
Happy beasting to you as well. And we have Liam from Toybox Soapbox. How are your beasts tonight? Are they rising?
The beasts have risen.
Oh, well, they've already risen. Wow.
I was hoping he'd say beast ho.
Yeah, beast ho would have been entirely appropriate.
Well, I don't think it'd be appropriate.
Well, okay, man. What happens in your bedroom or whatever, I don't know. But yeah, we are here to talk about Rise of the Beasts. Before we get to all of that, we should mention that we've got a sponsor for the evening. As ever, that is tfsource.com. Do check them out for all your Transformers and third-party needs, and we'll do a longer segment on them in the middle of the pod in just a bit.
We also got a Patreon. That's patreon.com/triple takeover, where you can get episodes early, vote on episode topics, get access to our Discord server, our excellent community of fans, or you can go to our highest tiers where you get exclusive content. You can commission minisode topics, listen to the other minisodes that we've done, and even our hyper-specialized Gold Box Classics mini-series as well. So that's patreon.com/triple takeover.
Yeah, we were originally going to do this as a mini-sode, weren't we? This was kind of the original conception of this discussion, was as a mini-sode. And then through various conversations and whatever, it became a full episode. So that's just
persuasion.
How it rolls sometimes.
It was just simple. It was not a conversation. It was just persuasion.
Right, indeed. Wrangling, I think it was, blackmail maybe. I don't know.
Forcing.
Right. Yeah.
Forcing the beasts.
Yeah, indeed.
Upon me.
Yes.
It's a good job we are talking about Rise of the Beast, because I got another email this week, through the old Instagrams. But this came from two brothers. I've got two fans of ours who are asking. They just said, been to see Rise of the Beast, would love to get some cool Transformers merch. Do you know any way you can get some kind of, fun podcast merch? And I was like, yeah. So this letter was from two brothers that said, Clark and Lyle from Carlisle.
That's the worst one yet.
Shouldn't it be Carl and Lyle?
Yeah, I got the name.
Carl
there we go.
Lyle, yeah.
Carl and Lyle.
Clark Lyle.
Yeah.
Seamless podcasting.
So Carl, sorry, I butchered your name there, Carl and Lyle, his brother from Carlisle.
Good
so
Lord.
Yeah, so if you would like some podcast merch, you can head over to rebel.com/people/triple takeover/explore.
Explore. I didn't even say who I was. It's just it now occurred to me that I didn't do the whole.
Because there'll be more on that later, I'm sure.
Because there was. You explained.
The later came.
That's it. Episode 58 is later, and everything after that is just.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark Mayer. Kept that one going for years. Bloody Hasbro designers. That was a real treat, wasn't it, having them on? I still haven't come down from that, honestly.
They were brilliant.
What an absolute treat that was.
And we're recording this before that episode has gone live publicly for all.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to hearing the reaction to that when it hits the the open access.
I can't wait. It's been on our Discord for a little while now, and on our Patreon rather, and our Discord guys are all listening to it, our Discord fam, and it's had such a positive reception so far, and it's gone down really, really well. Created some nice discussion. So yeah, I'm so buzzed about it.
And everyone was really buzzed about this movie, weren't they? Because if you were to read the hype online, it was pitched as the best Transformers movie yet, or one of the best Transformers movie.
Best since the first. I read that was in some of the TV spots where they were like in big bold letters, the best Transformers movie since the first. And I was like, is that the way that you want to sell this? Like, this franchise has been awful until good, and then it went really bad, and now we kind of course corrected a bit. It's okay, lads, And I was a bit like, is that really the way? Is that the way you want to go with this? But it's been hyped massively, hasn't it?
Big time.
I did get caught up in some of that as well, and I got to tell you, I was not disappointed. Like, I did enjoy it overall. Do you know what I mean? I do have some points that I'm going to make about it, but by and large, as a headline, for me, it was a fun film. I really liked it.
It is a fun movie, and I think for people who haven't been there for 07 onwards, And maybe for anyone who was there after '07, they kind of got in around Revenge of the Fallen or even Dark of the Moon, they will really see this as a very, very good Transformers movie.
Yeah,
and it is a good Transformers movie because it has all the ingredients you want from a Transformers movie. Characters, old characters. It's got two continuities of fans that not two continuities, two eras of fans that it's going to satisfy, because it does the main protagonist, Optimus Prime, it does them real justice. So that's good. I mean, at no point was I left feeling like the visuals weren't good enough. I think it's a great first Transformers movie for people to get in. And I suspect that a lot of people who aren't hardcore Transformers fans are going to go in and love it. I think that's been Liam's experience. But yeah, I think, like you, I have a number of criticisms and things I would have liked more.
Definitely.
That we'll get into, I think.
I think that's the point. And I suppose before we kind of get into all of that, I suppose I wanted to say, for anybody listening, that we are intending to get into that stuff as well. Like, we're not going to kind of hold back or just be all like, oh, it was great. Do you know what I mean? And I think the headline is that generally, having spoken to both of you, that we all enjoyed this film and thought it was, to varying degrees. Like, I get the feeling I was maybe the most enthusiastic about it overall, but still, we are going to get into the critique of it and kind of not hold back on that, because I think there were some nitpicks to be had and there were some funny things along the way as well. So inevitably,
I liked it. I don't need to see it again. I would recommend any Transformers person goes and sees it, and there have been films which I wouldn't recommend. I also wanted more from it, but that is an overall positive thing.
Yeah.
Which you would do well to remember when you listen to some of the criticisms that I have of it. But that's just
okay,
because I came to it from a very different angle.
Like, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good fun film, and like Maz said, it's a really good starting point for a Transformers film. And that was one of the things that I took away from it, is it did feel like an episode of a Transformer cartoon, and it felt like a course correction also, and almost a bit like an accidental like multiverse film, because like you were saying about two universes colliding, even though it's not the story, it still felt like that. But it was good fun. But like, it's interesting to dissect it, having had the previous Transformers movies, which were just so loud. This one, it feels like it's more interesting to pick through and discuss how it went, because like I say, my girlfriend, she loved it, and her nephew thought it was fantastic, and I came in, I really liked it. I thought, it's a good film, it's fun.
So definitely plenty to say about it, so we're gonna get into that tonight.
This is probably a lot for you, huh?
So Maz, you were saying about the hype.
Yeah, I know it had an effect on me going in, and I think a lot of my reaction to the movie is based on maybe incorrect expectations. I feel like this movie should have been judged by me as, well, I've got one set of opinions as a Transformers fan who's been with the franchise for ages and has watched all the previous movies, and there's another version of me which is seeing this for the first time as a non-Transformers person, and I can understand why it lands so differently in those two mindsets. And that's definitely where I'm at with it. I watched it with my brother recently in London, very soon after it came out, and I think I went in as the Transformers guy. And that's why my reaction to it is the way it is, which we'll get into later. But I can see why people who maybe haven't seen the other movies would go in and would find it amazing and would be really, really into it.
I think that there's been two reactions to it in a way, because there have also been people that are very familiar with the Bay films and things, and they've actually been super positive about this because it's not that, or it's difficult, isn't it? Because there are also people that want it to be even less like those films than it is. And I find we've got into this really complicated situation now where you've got so many different types of Transformers fans, all with very different expectations of what this film should be and what it should deliver. And it's never going to make everybody happy at the end of the day, because you've got G1 fans that want like the opening scene of Bumblebee, basically. That's what they want from some anyway. Not every, I'm talking generally, but like that's what they want in a 2-hour film, is just that Bumblebee scene and nothing else. They're like, why is it kind of almost moved away from the accuracy with characters like Wheeljack and things like that? And that's been a whole thing. And then you've got Bayformers fans that are like, what's this? Do you know what I mean? Why is it not all out Bayhem? Like, why have they, kind of swung more towards G1 and things like this? And I just think that it's kind of coming in this weird mid-world almost, and it's playing to it's a difficult proposition, I guess, is what I'm trying to say in some ways.
Yeah, it feels like that when you're watching the film. You can tell the whole production team have that same almost confused feeling about it, like it's
100%.
trying to appeal to all types of fans, but at the same time serving nobody. Like that. Like, no, I mean, like classic fans. Like, I went to see it with my girlfriend and her nephew, and they loved it. They thought it was excellent. They really, really loved it.
Doesn't surprise me, actually.
Like, yeah, and well, my girlfriend loved the giant monkey, so she thought that was tremendous. But all of it, they really liked it. Whereas I came away I liked it, but at the same time, I was like, it's just all right. But I felt like all the way through, you could see the seams where they were like, we're not really connected to the original movies. But then you have like the music from the movies, and you're like, oh, they're trying to.
Yeah.
It's like they're trying to lean into that and Bumblebee at the same time, whilst not leaning far enough. But we should just say, fair warning, there will be spoilers in this episode.
Oh, we did.
I've already said that, mate. Yeah.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, too busy thinking of Carl and Lyle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that took a lot of.
And the other brother Clark.
Yeah. You saying you made that up?
No. I was just thinking of their, of how they got in touch. I was very grateful for them.
Absolutely right. Good save. But no, do you know? I've said all through, like, pre this film being released and that, looking at the trailers and things like this, and obviously there was a huge debate online about, is this a reboot? Is it a prequel? What is it? And I mean, actually, what I think is ridiculous, let me just say right off the bat, is that it created a lot of arguments. Actually, like I personally had people getting, even with me, where I would say, oh, well, this is what I kind of think. And people would like be actually trying to insult you over it. And you're like, chill out, man. It's just a film about giant robots. It's really not worth getting this level of like super ridiculously passionate about, to the point where you're kind of insulting other people over an opinion. It's like, relax. But I do think what they tried to do is appeal to everyone, as you were saying, Liam, by almost having their cake and eating it. Like, they didn't commit at any point to, yes, it's a reboot, or yes, it's a prequel. It was almost like they were trying to kind of keep it weirdly sort of existing in this mid-world where it could be either...
Vague. It's deliberately trying to be vague, but this is the problem I had with it, was watching it, and it's not that I disliked it because of this, it's that we are Transformers fans, so you know a lot about it, and they're playing on nostalgia for these characters, so they're playing on an assumption that you know who the Beast Wars cast is, and all these obscure references like Ape Link and stuff like that. The only people who are going to get that are hardcore fans who know, which I thought was a great reference and stuff. But it's those people who we don't live on down this, but we know it. So when they're trying to steer away from it but into it at the same time, like you say, it's having the cake and eating it. So it was really distracting for me, because I'm like, it's not a sequel to the other movies, and it's not a sequel to Bumblebee, but it feels like it's both without fitting into a continuity. It's like they know what this fandom is like, but they know what all fandoms are like with stuff like continuity. That's what sort of people, they don't just expect it. It's like, if you're not going to lean into that, do something different. I don't get why they didn't just use Bumblebee as the launching point to just totally divorce themselves from the Bay movies. Or if they wanted to go back to the Bay movies, go back to that style. Don't pick one lane.
This is really weird, man. I really thought I'd come into this and I'd have some totally whack opinions compared to you two, but you've almost word for word explained why I felt just not at all stirred by the movie, really. Like, I just thought I was watching the same thing again from previous movies. And it's exactly what you're saying. Like, it didn't really sit as a sequel to Bumblebee. It didn't really sit as a continuation of Bay movies. It didn't sit as a standalone. But I really felt like it would very easily just be the first Transformers movie that somebody had ever seen, and it would just work absolutely fine because it had all the same beats as the first Transformers movie. It's like it had some off-world origin, and then it had lots of human stuff about digging up artifacts that are somehow connected to ancient interactions with these robots. And then it introduced them almost exactly the same way the first movie did. Like, there's a human contact, then there's an introduction scene to the team, and then the antagonists are sort of introduced. And that's kind. And then there was like 1986
beat for
references.
Beat, it's very similar in a lot of ways to the 2007 film. Bizarrely, like it's not a Force Awakens level of retelling of A New Hope. It's not that. But
I don't know that ending. Bloody hell! When
What,
they start playing the music and he starts doing the same speech. This is the problem with the audience, though, isn't it? Because like even that, if the only people who are gonna like be like whoop whoop and really excited when they hear that are people who know those films. So that's going to hit. That's the people they're aiming for there, and that's why it's weird because those people are also going to know those films well enough to go, well, apparently they weren't on Earth according to these films. It doesn't line up with these films. There's stuff that it's doing to.
I think they should have. This is in my mind the thing. They should have come out swinging right from the gate and said it's a reboot. They should have just gone with it and just pissed off the people that it pissed off at the time if that's what they were going to do. Because it clearly is a reboot, let's be fair. Do you know what I mean? Now, the silly thing here is that the continuity never made sense in the Michael Bay films anyway.
No.
It was irrevocably broken.
It was the cube. No, it was the Matrix. No, it was the pillars.
Yeah.
No, it's the transwarp core.
It hangs together.
But that feels like the cartoon. So it's very much cartoony in that it's almost like everyone is its own, but they're loosely connected. Whereas this one feels... It's trying to connect, but at the same time trying to divorce itself from it, but very much in the face where it couldn't physically make sense. Whereas, like the G1 cartoon, when Red Alert shows up, he's never been there, but you could just assume he's appeared somewhere off screen. It never does anything to contradict these things. So you can make up your own stuff. Whereas these movies, it does do kind of stuff to contradict itself.
The Bay movies also did contradict themselves, to be fair. There are elements in them that
definitely.
That can't happen.
Definitely.
This has already happened. That doesn't make sense. But this is definitely like one of the most egregious. But to be fair, Bumblebee also had already done that. It had already broken the Last Night continuity, and those two films were released 1 year apart. That's the ridiculousness of it. So at this point, I feel like they should have just swung into it and just been like, yeah, you know what? It's a reboot. You'll see the details of it in the film, but don't go in thinking that it's going to end up being 2007 in the future, because it's not. But instead, like the producer was even trying to suggest, this is like the origin of Optimus Prime. This is the film that you watch to see how he became the Prime in 2007. And it's like, no, clearly not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it quite felt obviously. Like there were distinct replacements for characters that had been prominent before. Like Bumblebee was very comprehensively replaced by Mirage in that respect, I felt. It's like he is the human character now. He's the guy now. He's your friend. He
was a breath of fresh air. I loved him. He was
great. He was one of the best.
It was nice having a human buddy robot character who talked. He wasn't a pet. And that's the thing with Bumblebee in all of these films. All the Autobots, so they're almost always like pet characters. They're always played as very naive and stupid, despite being billions of years old.
Such lengths to make him quote unquote cool. Such lengths. Like you could tell the design team were like, you better make him look cool. Like every inch of him needs to be cool. That's your word, cool. Everything.
That's Mirage though.
Yeah, but
he was cool, to be fair.
He was cool. But it was so obvious what the purpose of that character was. Fulfilled it really well, but it was almost see-through in a way, I think, to me, which is very Mirage 2, by the way.
It reminded me a lot of Hot Rod.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
Hot Rod was the same in '86. Really, he was created to be cool, wasn't he? In that regard,
you are right, Maz. But I think it's very much a trope, isn't it? It's very much a formulaic movie, and that's this was one of the things that really struck me coming out of it. Was I was like, I liked it more than the other films. I liked it, but it didn't do anything different or anything that
100%,
was. I thought, anything that was 100%. Memorable beyond Transformers memorable stuff. Like stuff I remember, like saying Ape Link or Transformers characters and scenes.
Or Mirage turning into a Countach in an IndyCar was probably my favourite. But I was like, thank you very much for that. That was
Well,
for me.
The thing that I was trying to think of at the time was I was thinking of like Raiders of the Lost Ark, where there's a scene where Indiana Jones shoots the guy who, with the swords. It's a really famous scene.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of the sword fight, and that is instantly memorable, not just because. Yeah. But that's what I mean. So it wasn't intended to be that in the first place. But that's the thing about these films is sometimes there's something that really sticks in your memory about a film where it does something different. And I think this is what this film sort of lacked. There was no scene or anything that you really point to as it stood out as like a real piece of like cinema or auteurship. You know what I mean? Like it was nothing where you felt like it had a personality. I think that's what was missing.
But that's why I said I went in with the wrong mentality. Because I think I went in with the mentality of I'm a Transformers fan. This is movie number, I don't know, 6, 7, 8, whatever. there's going to be something different for me, where there really wasn't. I mean, the Beast cast was actually probably my favorite part.
Really?
And I think if it had been more if it had been like a straight up fully Beast Wars movie, I think I would have enjoyed it more.
It could have used a bit more Beast, definitely.
Yeah, because I just felt the Optimus thing. I just guess it didn't work for me. Like, it didn't work for me with that personality and that mode. It didn't evoke the way that it did at the end of the Bumblebee movie. At the end of the Bumblebee movie, seeing him as the truck, and that was emotional. It didn't feel that way here at all. I didn't get any of that from the cast.
Was that
so
because?
Angry.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they kind of gave Optimus. They kind of put a bit of dirt on him, didn't they? They kind of put a bit of grime to the personality, almost like he wasn't this sort of stoic, stand-up Autobot leader as such.
And that's not new either in the movies.
No, I mean, if anything, he was a bit more Bayformery in terms of the gruffness of him to start with, anyway.
There was a lot of Bay DNA in the movie, and I think that definitely helped me not feel like this was a new experience. And again, but if I had no Transformers experience, I think I really would have enjoyed that movie as a feature. It's not a bad film. There are movies in this series where I point at them and like, that's a bad film, and I don't want to see it again. I can't say this was a bad film. I really can't. It wasn't bad.
That's what we're saying there about it being very formulaic. It's like, on the other hand, that's one of the things I thought was one of its strengths, was it was so point A to point B, and it didn't mess about. Like, so many of the Bay films after the first one, they're incoherent, and it's like, you watch Revenge of the Fallen, like, why are they there? What's happening here? How have they transferred to the other side of the globe, and then 2 minutes later they're in another country somewhere else? It's very confusing, and it's very scattergun, whereas this was really straightforward, and I thought, actually, it works, because it's just it is like watching an episode of a cartoon, just quite a long one.
It really is.
I think you're right. Yeah,
it really is. But it's a streamlined, fairly straightforward narrative, but it's very coherent, and you know who's who, what's going on. It's at every point. And the Bay films increasingly, to me, felt like they were just a jumble of set pieces, and to the point of...
It's a series of music videos. That's what I felt like they were just doing. You could tell Bay come from a music director background.
Like The Last Night, for me, I'm not going to go on about The Last Night because there's a lot that you could say, but I have some very strong opinions about it. And I think, they lauded up this thing around having this writer's room before the film was made. And it was like, 12 different writers in there or something. And they had all these ideas. And, I find it funny when people say that The Last Night didn't have a plot, because it did, actually. The problem was that it had about 15 plots. It had plots for so many films. I mean, what was going on in that? It was so overstuffed to the point where one scene to the next just didn't connect. And you could tell that they were trying to ape the Suicide Squad with certain elements of it, or Star Wars, or there was fantasy elements in there with the dragons and things like this. And it was like, just throw absolutely everything at this, and maybe something will land. And it just became this, to me anyway, this is my opinion, but it just became this sort of overbearing exhaust fest. I remember watching it feeling like I feel nothing from this. It's almost too oversaturated and too overstuffed that I can't connect to it in any way. Comparatively, I got to tell you, I did really enjoy Rise of the Beasts. I thought it was good. I don't think it was an amazing film. I don't think it was film of the year by any means. But for Transformers, I think it was solid, very solid film. And I did connect to it. Like, to be honest, there were bits of it that I thought, I was engaged throughout. I wasn't bored at any point, I don't think.
No, I wasn't bored either. I can agree with that.
And there were points like the Till All Are One scene, kind of skipping towards the end here a little bit, but like the kind of penultimate, the bit where they're trying to get away from the transwarp key exploding, and Optimus he's going up into the sky, and then Noah and Optimus Primal are there and all of that, and they save him, and they're like, we'll work together till all are one. That I did get a little kind of like, I got a bit from that. That was cool.
No, I didn't get anything from that. That was just so much of the same old last minute rescue stuff.
Oh, of
it's
course.
Just so old. I didn't invest in, I wasn't into it. Didn't feel it mattered to me what happened, because also the Bumblebee death was so transparent. It was just like, he's not going to stay dead. It just seemed like a lot of path of least resistant decisions, and I think they took a lot of things that had worked from previous Transformers movies and took those bits that worked and tried to use them again, because nothing was a surprise. None of it was and I know I'm repeating myself here, but
No.
that feeling, once you get that feeling in the middle of a film that it's not going to surprise me and it's not going to do anything special, it just sort of puts me in a different mode when I'm watching, and then I don't know what I'm enjoying it as. Am I enjoying it as just eye candy, good-looking robot models doing good-looking robot model things? And even then, I think that one of the moments really made me stand up and notice was that Wheeljack had the voice of Danny Rojas from Ted Lasso. I was like, oh, it's Cristo Fernandez is doing the voice. That was a real stand-up moment. There were things I was also disappointed about. Like, I was really disappointed I didn't get to see AirRazor's robot mode.
That's a weird choice.
AirRazor was terrific, looked terrific.
My theory on that is that they wanted to keep this sort of surprise, if you like, of the beasts transforming for the final battle, with Optimus kind of running in and transforming and that. But in a way, I feel like that was a real missed call, because it would have been so amazing.
They're so blurry.
To see, yeah, exactly. And to see them, I actually would have loved to have seen them transform when they had that big conversation meeting with the Autobots. I think that would have been a great moment to just have them transform there and then, and just see them statically standing there in their robot mode. I think that would have made them feel a bit more fully fleshed out to me, rather than like running in. And kind of coming back to your point, Liam, it was like a real, like if you're watching this film cold and you know nothing about Transformers, nothing about Beast Wars, you just know that there's like a giant cybernetic gorilla who randomly runs into battle and transforms, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's
I think for watching it, I think you're right, and I think that's what they were going for. Is when you write a script and you write down, and then we'll save the beast transformations to the battle, because they'll come out and it'll be this amazing scene where they suddenly transform, and it's all
and it was
drama, and it's like in your head and on paper it works, but then the way they put it on the screen, you're like, it's so quick and so brief, because we know they transform and they do it this, and you never see it again. It's just like it's wasted, because you don't get that moment where they transform and they stay on screen long enough for you to go, wow, look at that, they're doing stuff and they're robots.
Yeah.
It's like almost like Cheetor transforms and then instantly transforms back.
Isn't it because the robot beasts are the more novel thing here? Because we've got robots all over the shop anyway, and have since 2007, but robot beasts are the special thing here, and that's what will wow a new audience.
Maybe that's it. I mean, I do think that they definitely, there are bits that were cut out of this film. Of course, there's a couple of deleted scenes or whatever, but generally speaking, I think that the beasts could have used a bit more time, on screen and just kind of being allowed to breathe a little bit. I feel like other than Optimus Primal, the other two or three, AirRazor to some degree, fine, but certainly Cheetor and Rhinox are just background characters, really. So, but I still loved seeing them, and I still love their presence in this film. But I would have absolutely adored seeing just that bit more of them, maybe.
Yeah, I was kind of trapped in two minds with that, because when I came out of it, I was like, you didn't see that much of them, but I was enjoying seeing more of the Autobots, not more than the Beast, just having a film where you get so much of a group of Autobots doing stuff together, because normally it's just like Bumblebee and human sidekick, or human people doing stuff. Whereas in this, the human Noah was quite. They weren't background characters, but they didn't overshadow the robots like they do in the main one.
I think if there was one thing that this film, it did a lot of things better than a number of the Bay films for me. But if there was one thing that I think they absolutely nailed for me over the Bay films, is that the Autobots especially didn't feel like background cars waiting to be called into action by the humans. They felt like fully immersive, participative characters in their own right.
They had their own sense of agency, whereas normally it's like they're waiting for Sam or that other guy, Mark Wahlberg, to do something and call them in.
Or Lennox or whoever. But like, do you remember in like
Cade Yeager?
Cade Yeager. Do you remember like in Revenge of the Fallen? There's a bit where all the Autobots are in their car modes in like the hangar or whatever, and like Lennox and all the army guys are walking through, and they're like talking about the cars, like calling them by their Autobot names or whatever. And I always remember thinking, even at the time, they're just literally sat there in car mode, like, and it's so obvious that you're just like walking past the cars and like pretending, this is Bumblebee, this is Sideswipe, and it's like, if they were actually autonomous robots, they wouldn't just be sat there in car mode like that. Do you know what I mean? That would be so. Are they asleep? What's going on? And it always just struck me as like a real weird element of those films, and it's because of how much the human characters were kind of brought to the fore almost. Whereas this is much more like with Mirage, for example, and the rest of them. the Autobots are fully present and part of it at all times.
And
I
in
love that.
charge of themselves. Whereas in the other films, it's always the humans are always in charge, and the way they treat the robots is like their children. They're always treated like their children. Even Optimus Prime, to an extent, the way they talk to him and stuff, it's like, oh god, he's so naive, he doesn't know what's going on. It's always the humans, and it's very much like they're there almost for some sort of comedy effect. Whereas in this, I felt like it was nice to have the focus on them. This is their story and their mission, and rather than it being some human directing them. And there was no evil human organization. I love that there was none of this. Some sort of background conspiratorial group or the military.
I thought it
or
was
something
going to
like
be
that.
for a minute at the end. I thought it was going to be Sector 7. Totally. I was sat there like,
same. That's what I
here
thought.
we go.
I was really disappointed just before they made that reveal, because I was like, oh, it's going to be Sector 7. And,
I was sitting there thinking, don't do this. Like, you don't need to do this. Do you know what I mean? Just
I thought Simmons was
move
coming
on.
out and legit
I really
Sector 7 pants or something again, or whatever
I
it was.
totally thought that it was going to be like some reveal that that it was going to be connected to Simmons somehow or something like that. I was like, don't do it, please. So when he flipped it over and it said the card and it said G.I. Joe, I was actually like, firstly, I was very surprised, but I was like, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. I know not everyone's into it, and some people.
No, I got to admit, I just went
but...
like, oh, okay, it's not Sector 7. I guess that's the thing I should have known going in. I felt like, oh, okay, I bet everyone else is not as surprised as I am right now. But I guess
no, I think it was a big shock for a lot of people. I think, like, it depends when you saw the film, because bizarrely, the producer has spoilt that quite considerably just before the film was released. Even I think he dropped a load of spoilers, including the G.I. Joe thing.
He did
in an interview, and then it went on. I think it was Cybertron or one of the sites, like basically posted all the spoilers and were like, "Oh, here you go." And then, of course, you got people on Twitter just out there. I even posted something. I posted a thing saying, "Oh, please don't spoil anything." And someone tried to post spoilers to me in reply to that. But it was one of those where you see immediately what the content's going to be and you don't read it and you just like ignore it. Do you know what I mean? And mute it. And it's like, why are you doing that? Do you know? Like, it's just a bit sad.
I'd seen the G.I. Joe spoiler, but not where it was. So I'd not forgotten about it, but I thought it was like one in the post credits. So I thought it was going to be some sort of small reference, at the very end after the credits had taken place. So when it popped up where it did, I was really surprised.
No, I had no clue. I had not a clue. I was genuinely sitting there expecting a Sector 7 reference, and I thought it was just going to be Sector 7 on the business card.
Particularly after it comes out to that scene with the music and all that stuff.
Exactly, yeah. It kind of, in a way, the Steve Jablonsky score kind of primes you for thinking this is where they're going now. Like, they're leading you into... Primes you, yeah. They're leading you into 2007. But apparently they did when they were filming it and that, they had Sector 7 business cards. And they kept it very closed, like very locked down on set as to who knew that it was a G.I. Joe reveal. And there was only one business card or something that was made, something like this anyway, that that was kind of brought out and filmed under like a very closed set or whatever to kind of keep the reveal. And when they showed it to test audiences, it said Sector 7.
It was just another thing that there was this overhanging feeling throughout. Like, it almost felt like they were trying to course correct back to the Bay movies. After the Bumblebee film wasn't that successful, but it kind of felt like maybe that scared them a bit, so they were trying to, like you said earlier, have their cake and eat it. Constantly, like that feeling of the Sector 7 thing. Like, I would never have thought that in Bumblebee, but here, because we'd had so many sort of allusions to the Bay movies, I was like, that's where this is going. And I was already pre-disappointed because I was getting ready to be like, oh no.
How would that even have worked with the cast and the things that took place, and then how 2007 starts? That would have been so clumsy.
Beasts running around everywhere that have then got to be explained away.
It's bad enough that Primal and Air Razor have been on the same planet for hundreds of years and just simply didn't find each other.
Didn't even write.
Right. Or send a signal, maybe.
Or a postcard.
Yeah, that is a bit of a weird one.
I didn't want to come and be this total voice of negativity, because I don't dislike the movie. I just, it's just, but these feelings of, but this, but that, that's just the same thing I had in all the other movies,
But that's valid as well. That's not an invalid reaction to it. Like, I got to be honest, none of that bothers me. I'm perfectly fine. I do think it's a bit silly that Air Razor and Primal were somehow on this tiny little planet and not in communication.
And the temple where they got onto the roof and they turned that symbol and then that symbol like thousands of years and nobody's done that. And then Secret City, it's just a little bit like suspend that disbelief.
my thought when they did that was straight away. It was like, how does it still just twist after thousands of years? Surely, like, they'd be like,
You
tried turning a toy's arm from 1986 anytime recently.
That's what I mean. We were talking on a recent minisode. Like, I can't even move a wing on an aerial bot. Just this 1,000-year-old rock.
Try transforming a 1988 G1 Darkwing, mate. Then you'll see how you get on with a big old temple thing.
I was like, I can't imagine this on the Discovery Channel on Nat Geo. They're going there and they're like, just twist this rock in a 1,000-year-old wall.
I must admit, I did have the rock twisty thought. That I do remember that distinctly in the cinema, thinking, really? But fine, it is what it is. It's a ridiculous film. It's a ridiculous genre of film. So say la vie.
Yeah.
Stranger danger! Stranger danger!
It was a fun film. There was enough in it. There's a lot of stuff. I know we've broken a lot of things down and cast a critical eye over it. But I really liked parts of it, and as a film I thought it was much better than the ones. It just like I say, I think there was just this confusion almost just was constantly there, where you were trying to, it was almost like it was thrown in your face that it was trying to be different but the same, and it was really hard to get away from that. It was quite distracting. But and the Angry Optimus Prime was the other thing I really struggled with, because it was
same.
It didn't feel like he had a character arc. When it started I was like, they're leaning into the joke of I want your faces. But by the end, he's going to have this character arc where he's going to come to terms with it. And at the end, he's going to be like, you know what? I don't need to be this violent or angry. I've got over my issues. I'm going to save the day, blah, blah, blah. But at the end, he's even worse. It's like his big epiphany moment is, no, melt somebody's face in a waterfall of lava and take his head.
Well, that guy had been pretty horrible.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it's the kind of, he starts off very violent and angry and ends very violent and angry. There's no course between that, you know what I mean?
I get what you mean. I guess the arc is
no payoff to it.
The arc is that he doesn't trust humans, and then he learns to work with humans, isn't it? That's that's
in there. It just felt like the way they lead into him. I'll take your face. I'll take your head. It's like at the start, it feels like they lead into the joke, and then throughout, it's like, oh, they're still going.
He definitely wasn't classic Optimus, like big old Robo Dad that we're used to, but that was an adjustment. I will agree, absolutely. But I still preferred it to, a lot of how Optimus has been handled in the other films. I thought at least he was kind of eloquent in this and kind of, had his moments and everything, and a sense of actual character. So I did appreciate that. Overall, like I say, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good, solid, enjoyable film in my book, but I still think it's perfectly valid to critique it, and that's a big part of what we're here for ultimately, isn't it? Is to kind of share some of that as well.
I don't have any desire to see it again, and that's weird for me.
I would watch it again.
Yeah,
because Age of Extinction was not a better movie than this.
No,
but I wanted to see that again, and there were scenes in it that I loved and I really wanted to see again. Lockdown was really interesting. I found Lockdown brilliant.
Romeo and Juliet.
No, was that Age of Extinction, that one?
That was the Romeo
it just
and
blends
Juliet
into one. But I loved when he steps out of his ship, his transformation, the first time he turns back into a Lambo, stuff like that.
That's cool.
I think the only thing I'd want to see again here is Mirage turning into the Indy car and the dump truck and the Lambo.
Lamborghini.
That was like super funny to me. I was like, that's pretty cool. But that was it, really.
I thought it was hilarious that after, a year, 2 years of people complaining on the internet that the Porsche was not jazz and that Mirage should be a Formula One car, that he actually does turn into a Formula One car in this film.
I did think that was totally a nod to that. I absolutely felt like, that's
I wonder if they put that in like later on, if they were like, oh, look at all this controversy. Like, let's,
I could be Sideswipe, I could be Mirage, and I could be Jazz at the same time.
Exactly.
I thought it's quite fun when he's doing that, and he says, I could turn into a Ferrari, and it's the only time you don't see him as a car. Yeah. And I thought it's quite funny because in whichever one of the Bay films it is where he's in it as a Ferrari, isn't he? As Dino.
Yeah, Dino's in it. Yeah, effectively, that's kind of Mirage.
It's as he's doing the scene as he's transforming into the Lamborghini. When he says, "And I can turn into a Ferrari," it's anyone where the camera turns and it's focused on Noah instead of him turning into a car. So you never see him turn into a Ferrari. I just thought it's quite funny that and I wondered if it was a joke
Maybe unless they would need to get a Ferrari license or something, or I don't know if
because
it's
when it cuts back, he's the F1 car.
Yeah. But no, the Formula One thing I did think was just hilarious because it reminded me of when people wouldn't stop going on about in Bumblebee from the trailer, about Blitzwing, about like, why is it not called Starscream? And then it turned out Starscream was in the bloody film. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, oh, okay, so actually it was really, we weren't really complaining about anything then. But
definitely almost like another case of perhaps you should just wait and watch the film before being rushing to judgment to such a crazy degree. Like, I didn't ever really have a problem with him not being jazz, but I could see, it's a Porsche. But watching the film, it never even occurred to me about the jazz thing. It just straight away, it was instantly his own character. It's a new Mirage. We used to that in films and everything, and comics, different interpretations of characters. And I thought he was fantastic. Pete Davidson was really good.
100% agree. And I also can't help but feel that if people saw this and he was exactly the same as he is, like he's just straight up exactly the same in the film, voiced by Pete Davidson, no less, and he was called Jazz, would people have been happy?
No.
I don't think so, personally. Do you know
the character
what I mean?
is not jazz at all. There's nothing jazz-like. I mean, they could have done jazz, but I feel like the character they went for with Pete Davidson was great because I think he hit the right blend between being interesting a little bit, but then he was funny, but not in the Bumblebee funny of where Bumblebee is peeing or a dog is peeing on Ironhide's foot, that Bay sort of silly humor. It wasn't that. He was just kind of like a standard movie reckless youth character, you know what I mean?
It was very Hot Rod. The more I think about it
really was
very, very Hot Rod.
He's impulsive and silly, but he had a thing where people look down on him, and at the end he does a heroic thing, and I thought that was good because
he was almost like
cinema trope
movie R.I.D. Sideburn, dare I say?
Yeah,
it was almost kind of like that. In a weird
really
way.
Excellent.
Yeah. Good point.
That kind of character,
stripes and all.
Yeah, and he kind of got the look almost a little bit as well. I don't know. It's he was definitely his own thing. But look, I have to tell you, you made a good point there, Liam, because this movie, I feel like obviously we're critiquing this movie and appreciating some bits of this movie or whatever, but let's just be fair. There aren't scenes of like two dogs shagging in this film, for example. There's no miniature robots humping a woman's leg in this film. There's no gratuitous butt shots. There's no attempt to explain why it's okay to have relations with minors in this film. There's like lots of things that should never particularly be in Transformers films, I think it's fair to say, that aren't in this film. And I think that's a real positive. And I do feel like as much good as some of the older films have in them, those elements have always been things that I've found a little bit like, what is going on?
It's mad that we have to praise it, though. It's mad that we just have to be like, oh, this is an achievement for this franchise and this movie series, because it shouldn't be an achievement. It should just be the bloody norm.
Yeah. But that's we've had 5 movies of that over what, a decade or whatever,
and I think I expected more after all of that. After what is it like? How long has it been? 16 years since the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think in 16 years, surely the progression of these movies should have been more than just to the basic decency. Some point.
I think in a way, though,
we're celebrating that.
Yeah, but I think in a way that's what this film was trying to do. It was just, I don't think it was trying to be super out of the box or
just create a new baseline.
Yeah, I think it was almost trying to be like, because Bumblebee was different. Bumblebee was a standalone character for the most part, and much more of a kind of human story, kind of a side quest, if you will. Although I think it's funny, and I tweeted this the other day, when people talk about Bumblebee like it's a slice of life film, it's a coming of age drama, but actually they forget that it does also have some supremely banging action sequences in it. And I'm not just even talking about the Cybertron stuff. Like, it's an incredible action film as well.
Yeah.
Bumblebee versus Blitzwing is brilliant.
It's
tremendous.
One of, if not the best live action fights
really lovely.
all of the Transformers films. But I think
Shatter and Dropkick weren't bad either. I mean, the way they
100%.
arrived. Anyway, we're not talking about that movie. I really liked that movie.
I really like that movie. It's still the best live action movie for me.
I think you're probably right. Yeah,
definitely. But I think there's some of the disappointment perhaps comes in because that's so different to the Bay movies, and I think this feels like almost not a backward step, but it's almost like an in between the Bay movies and movies.
Wrong direction for me a little bit.
Yeah. But Bumblebee is a very different film, whereas this feels like a very straight boilerplate action film. That's very...
Yeah, it's not just that, dude. It's about what they were trying to achieve. They were trying to go back to a fundamental Transformers starting point, a global Transformers movie again. Whereas it worked so well when they did something small and right. Whereas this again, like, even to the point of chucking in Bay style drones again, it's just like, why are they being chased by what effectively looks like Frenzy from the first movie again? Like,
that's a weird one.
It was an unwelcome
Frenzy,
return to, just like, why go that route? Why try to distance yourself from it, but again, not? This is exactly what you were saying earlier.
I do agree with that. Actually, I will be honest. That, there were some not backward steps, but kind of slides more towards the original films. That actually, I think if they'd have just said, let's make this a very clear-cut reboot and just do away with all of those elements. I didn't mind the score so much because I feel like the Jablonski score was a nice homage, but it was weird that it was so obviously Jablonski. You know, it was weird that it was just literally. Whereas the Unicron theme that was in there was subtle. It was great to hear. It was really exciting, but it was not the DeCola score. Just
blink and you miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a real shock when I heard it because I didn't know it was there, and then I heard it. Right, that sounds like that. And then when it came back later, I was like, oh, "It is that."
It is that. Yeah. But it's easy to miss. Yeah. Whereas the Jablonski bit was like a hammer in the face. It was like, this is exactly that.
The thing with the Jablonski thing, it's not that it is the Jablonski theme because that's great, and if it's that at the end, the way it's played is very much a triumphant return to the 07 movie, the Bay movies. It's like, that's how it ends. It's all like, we're dropping in that. He's doing the same speech, and it's almost like we're back there. This is a return to that movie, those movies that those people liked and you guys liked, and that's what it feels like, a celebration of a return to that style of film. And it's like,
I do get what you're saying.
Away. It's confusing. I think that's the thing, more than anything, this movie, it felt like a confusing set of messages. It's like, it's not this, but it is this. But
it's new, but it's not new.
Yeah.
It's a reboot, but it's not a reboot. It's a prequel, but it's not a prequel. I get what you're saying. I think, in a way, as I said it earlier, I'll say it again, I think they were trying to have their cake and eat it. And I think there probably was an element of Bumblebee didn't give them the box office that they wanted, so they were trying to kind of return to type a little bit, while still...
Fear. You could see a sense of fear, like, we've got to get back to that
a touch, $1
billion style, mate.
I think they were trying to move the franchise on and get it to a new place, hence the inclusion of stuff like Unicron, and, you know, trying to really deliver that spectacle, and hence, like, trying to, you know, give it new direction with stuff like the Terracons and things like that, which was a bit new, and then the G.I. Joe storyline. So there are, I think, like, this is how I think of it. Although, yes, some of these critiques are true, I think it's a good springboard for what it could now become, and hopefully this film does well enough that it justifies maybe a slightly more adventurous sequel.
Yeah. I would like a sequel.
Because there was nothing in it that would stop me going to see the next one.
Right.
But The Last Night absolutely made me never want to see another live-action Transformers movie again. So Bumblebee was quite the rescue. And it did so much right that I think it deserved... I hate to use that word deserved, actually, because I don't feel entitled at all. I was really surprised we got another movie. I'm like genuinely still kind of surprised that there was another movie. But it would be so nice for the franchise to just keep going from strength to strength and improving the way I guess the Marvel Universe did with their movies. Yeah, I did definitely get a bit of an MCU feel from this movie. You know, like that's kind of what they were trying to set up. I really got the feel they were trying to establish Mirage as now, you know, for years you've had Bumblebee and Prime and Megatron toys. And now we're also going to add Mirage to that stable of regular, high-profile Transformers characters.
Then you got hardly bloody any toys. This film. It's hardly any toys.
Oh, but did you not see the Studio Series reveal? I actually have to admit, I looked at that toy, I thought, I want that.
But that's now. I mean, the film is launched. Like, imagine the 07 movie when that came out, if there was no Bumblebee toys on shelves. That's what it's like with Mirage. I think there's, in certain countries, there are like small ones or flip changery type things, but there's no actual mainline one on shelves yet.
And it's interesting really because what was M.A.S.K saying, that the film was delayed a year, so Studio Series is coming out in the year of release as opposed to a year down the line. So if everything had worked out, there would be no Mirage toy for a year at all.
I'm sure the release date for Mirage is October, and like the film came out in June. It just feels like a long time. I know the Studio Series is a collector's one, but even the mainline one isn't out.
In 2007, Bumblebee toys were unavoidable, weren't they? I mean, they were literally everywhere. And
Well, that concept
so many
Camaro
of
was
them.
quite hard to find for a while. It didn't come to market until a little bit after the movie had come out. I remember seeing it at Hasbro in 2007 in Rhode Island, thinking, I can't wait for that to be in the stores. It took a little while for it to start popping up, and then Woolworths started to get it in, and they came in 2-packs as well. But yeah, that wasn't available on release.
No, but there were. If you wanted Bumblebee, there were probably about 17 others in different sizes and scales. Weren't
There
there
was
But,
no, not on release. It was just the old Camaro Deluxe, and I think everything else came a little bit later. There was like a little remote control one. It wasn't transforming though. I mean, pretty much the only thing you got was that Deluxe Camaro.
That's
I
weird.
bought the entire line on release when the movie came out, and I shipped it home from the US. There was just like one version of most people, and it was the old Camaro. But if you wanted the fancy Bumblebee, you had to wait for it. That wasn't there on release.
But
The
contrast
fancy
this
Bumblebee.
with this film, where you can get 2 different versions of Rhinox, 2 different versions of
Right.
Cheetor, who are barely in the film, but no Mirage,
Yeah.
none. It's really odd. Like it's a strange...
Primal seems to have a few toys going, doesn't he? He's got
and a mask.
Yeah, and the mask. Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely quite a few Primal toys, often advertised in robot mode, which is quite funny.
He looked great, didn't he?
Oh, he looked amazing.
Yeah.
He looked
Air
amazing.
Razor
He
looked
looked like a Mortal
amazing.
Kombat ninja when he's in robot mode. I really like, the face. So he looks like...
Noob
I
Cyborg.
want to pick up the Yellow Park kit that they've done.
I cannot wait for the 3.0 Optimus Primal. I just think it's only a prototype at the moment, but it just looks amazing. But I do think, although yes, they were slightly underserved in terms of screen time or whatever, I think all of the Maximals, the designs were exceptional. Like really stood out to me.
There is a darkness coming. You've never faced anything like this.
What was it? Nightbird. She had a I think it was an R34 Nissan GTR vehicle mode. Like, talk about underused.
Yeah.
That would have been like, what? It's
Yeah.
effectively a vinyl tech, in a way. So.
Maybe
Classic
2
Maz
scenes
bait
of the
that.
film. Like it's very rarely featured.
Yeah, that felt like a little bit of a waste. And I don't remember the name Battle Trap ever being said in the movie, right? Was his name ever uttered? Because I remember getting to the end of the movie going, I know what that toy is called, but I don't think I heard it in the movie.
He was cool though, man. I
Yeah,
thought that was,
the design
he
was cool.
Yeah. I don't know, didn't have a lot to do, but I thought the presence was such that you knew who he was when he was on screen, and he had like a couple of cool moments. It was enough for me. That was fine.
Yeah.
I didn't need him to have more.
The villains didn't seem to have that much time on screen though. Like none of those characters really did much other than appear in the action scenes. Like even Scourge had a few speaking scenes, but it definitely felt like there was more to his relationship with Unicron and stuff. That
There was
didn't
more,
really touch
interestingly.
on. Yeah.
In test screenings.
I know there was deleted stuff, wasn't there?
There was in test screenings. There was more where he was kind of almost like Galvatron in the 1986 movie. He had that kind of like unwilling servitude thing going on, where there was something about, I forget now, where Unicron was torturing him, and he was kind of like a bit loath to go and do what he had to do, kind of thing. And Unicron was like, "Well, you better get on with it," kind of thing, or I'll make your life worse. And he's kind of like, as if it could be, And so it was almost like you got this sense that he wasn't reveling necessarily in what he was doing, but he had no choice. And I think that could have been really interesting to kind of see, but I guess they clearly trimmed this film a little bit from what it was. I saw an interview actually with the director, Stephen Cable Jr., who said that he keeps his edits and stuff are pretty tight, and that he doesn't like waste a lot of footage or whatever. But we do know of some deleted scenes, like the transit scene has been talked about quite a lot. The bus, the Decepticon at the start of the film. There is some dialogue from Cheetor Rhinox. I've got a video on this. You people can go and watch it and see all of that. It's all in there about what was trimmed. But I do think that it's a very streamlined film, and I think I know that the producer Lorenzo has said many times that he doesn't like long films, which I think is ironic considering that he produced the first. I think I'm right in saying he produced all the first 5 Bay films.
I think so.
Yeah, he did.
I felt like his signature was really present in the movie.
It was.
Yeah.
I think it was so obvious that he was still involved, and that was also a thing that I had wish that we had moved on from.
Yeah,
he's not the guiding hand on this franchise that you would necessarily want. I think it's fair to say. He's kind of a bit all over the map. I don't think he always makes the most sort of sensible choices or whatever, but...
And I've got to admit, I was surprised to see Steven Spielberg's name in the credits, because I didn't feel like this particular Transformers movie had that sprinkle of magic that he brings. I didn't feel like it was there.
It was missing that Spielberg style element, wasn't it? Now you
I think
say
so.
it, there was, it like I say, it felt like a very boilerplate, like A to B movie. Almost like if you picked up a book of how to script a film, this would be like the very sort of generic example. Not in a bad way, I just mean it just feels like a very straight film. It's very un-Spielberg in that way.
Yeah. How
Missing
to
the
take
soppiness.
right. But I know there was attempts of the emotional connection between Noah and his brother. Like I see that, but again, I
Thought they were great.
I know, but I didn't buy into it. Like it didn't.
Oh, I did.
It just felt like one of those where it was just too obvious, like the discussion that had been had as to how to make this emotionally appealing and memorable. Do you know what I mean? With their little home team thing, and then Mirage adopting that as well. It just felt teensy bit forced and not natural in a way that I could believe and get into and feel emotionally connected to. It did just feel like this worked in this movie, let's use that. That worked in that movie, let's use that. This movie worked in that movie, let's use that. All these other things that those movies did wrong, let's leave those out. And this is the result. A very, like you say, by the numbers Transformers movie. And there is such a thing as that now because we're on to the 7th one.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Although the first 5 were just so bizarre in so many ways.
Yeah.
Like it's funny. I don't know if could you describe any of those films as formulaic? I don't know. Maybe they are, but maybe they're not. I don't really know what to say about those films. They're just such
Noisy. They're just noisy films.
yeah, exactly.
There's got to be an ancient thing that you have to find.
Yes, true.
You've got to be the first one to
MacGuffin.
find it. And the
A
bad
MacGuffin.
guys will get it first. And someone's going to die that you're supposed to care about. And then the thing will probably be destroyed forever. And some big bad dude's going to get screwed as a result.
Are you describing the 1986 Transformers movie there?
I could be describing any of them.
That's what I mean.
Do you know, that is a fair point.
Exactly, well, that's what I mean. Is they're all very along that path.
No, they had the ancient thing in the 86 movie. He already
That's
had
what
it.
I mean. That's why I said
they
it's
didn't have to go
Still
looking
an ancient
for it.
thing. Still an ancient thing. But
ancient MacGuffin.
I do get what you're saying. I mean, I think I mentioned this to you, Maz, but Liam, I don't know if you've seen it. I think it's maybe from TikTok, I want to say, but it's kind of found its way onto Twitter, because people get viral tweets now by just like screen capping a TikTok and then reposting it. That's the thing that people do apparently. But
Damn kids and their youth.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all whatever. But
Find me on TikTok at Sixo TF.
I'm not on TikTok. I've never even been on TikTok. I'm not cool enough for TikTok.
You're going to do your own called Six Talk.
Six Talk. Come and get it, baby. Yeah, absolutely. At 6 o'clock. Anyway, moving swiftly on.
Please.
That was the Six O'Clock news.
Don't touch that dial. But no, I think it was a TikTok video. I want to say that, but someone had put comparison shots between 2007 or the Bayformer films and this film, and it was funny how many of the, I don't want to say it was like beat for beat the storyline of the film, but let's say, for example, the shot of Noah running his finger or his thumb across Mirage's steering wheel with the Autobot symbol, and you've got the similar moment from the first film where Sam does it with Bumblebee, and there were shots of Optimus giving a speech, and then a cut to the same scene in Rise of the Beasts, for example, and it was very weird. The same archetypal things happening at the same points. It was not a
100%.
shot-for-shot recreation at all, but it was very much like, okay, we want this beat, so we're going to do this. And I don't know, maybe they're intentional callbacks in this film, because there are certainly a few of them in there. But I think some of it is also just that, as you kind of said, Maz, it's kind of that formulaic thing of like, we want this moment to happen, and it's just recreated in the same way. It's worth finding this video if you can come across it on the interwebs, wherever it is now, because whoever put it together really did really kind of did a good job of it. It just demonstrates the similarities between the films.
Yeah, it makes sense as well because it is formulaic, but at the same time, you want stuff like that in an introductory movie, which is, I think, what this is pitched as. It's like an introductory Transformers movie,
Absolutely.
like Year 7 was. But there's an old saying in the wrestling terms, which is you can use a storyline once and then you wait something like 10 years. And then because the generations will have cycled to be a new audience, you can go back and redo it and it would be like brand new for a new generation. And I think that's what they're doing with this film to some extent, because it's so long between those movies now that if you're trying to introduce this to new people, you can go back to those beats,
I
and there's an
absolutely
iconography.
think you're right.
But it also works on another level for people who have seen it before.
Well, it makes us feel like, what are we still doing here?
Old bastards, you mean?
Yeah.
That's
Leave
every
already.
Transformers
Get
rebranding,
out.
though, is it? We're like, God, what are we still doing here?
Move on.
I didn't mind that though. I got to tell you, like, I know we're
Yeah.
going back and forth on this and whatever, and I feel like I'm the one kind of swooping in occasionally to go, oh, I really enjoyed it actually.
It's weird because I liked it as well.
I know you did.
I think there's a difference between liking it and loving it. I think it just
Yeah. I can see why it's a good movie for new audiences. It works that way. Yeah.
It worked for me, and I'm an old bastard, so I don't mind. But I do think you're right. I'm sure there was an element of they thought, and they're not wrong, that the first film is 16 years old, and that is long. That is long. That is like it's not super old. It's not Citizen Kane old, but in terms of this franchise. To have a kind of new starter film, if you will, is quite a big deal. And they've obviously got plans for where they want to go. I believe or understand anyway that Stephen Cable Jr. will be back for the sequel, which I think is a positive, I've got to tell you.
Yeah.
He obviously loves the franchise and like the characters and whatever else, and I think he can do more. So I think it's left in a good place. I think that it's not a bad thing to kind of almost have this. I think they could have committed to it a bit more, and that's kind of what I said earlier. I think they could have been a bit more upfront about it's a reboot and we're just going a different way, and just eschew some of the base stuff like the frenzy freezer thing and all of that. Yeah, absolutely, just jettison some of that, and I would have been quite happy. But as it stands, I mean, I feel really positive now. I'm like actually excited about what comes next. Like another film. Like I'm into it.
I'm really curious about where they go next, actually. That is an interesting point, because now that they've re-established the 07 movie and they've got characters, I mean, obviously Unicron didn't die, so that's still a looming threat, unless they're going to do what Bay did and just like, well, forget everything from movie one. Here's a brand new movie that completely is unrelated.
Sad if they did that. I'd be really sad.
So it's going to develop the Unicron story, which is interesting, I guess.
New Unicron trilogy.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. That'd be fun. So yeah, that's actually positive. You're right. And I was actually, despite not being super into the whole thing, I was pleased Mirage wasn't dead. I was very pleased that he was there, because I thought he was the bright spark in the movie.
And I really think that they can do something interesting now as a springboard from this. I would be gutted if they did a Bay and just jettisoned what had come before. I remember when we all watched 07, and you remember there's that bit of Starscream flying into space at the end in the credits, and everybody was talking about that. I remember seeing that and being like, whoa, where's this going? Like, what comes next?
Yeah.
And then Revenge of the Fallen happened, and it was like, whatevs. It did follow on, but it didn't really matter as such. It was almost like not, they undid Megatron's death and stuff like that, and, fine. But it didn't really feel like a connected film in the same way. And I feel like this would be a shame if that went down that road. I want more Unicron. I want to see how it connects with G.I. Joe.
Well, he's got to transform, hasn't he? Unicron's got to turn into the planet-sized robot.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Am I the only one?
What that looks like.
Yeah. Am I the only one who didn't find Unicron's voice particularly interesting?
I like the voice. I thought it was good.
I don't even remember it, to be honest. I didn't find it memorable at all, and I don't remember it now.
I think the problem with Unicron for me is that it's always going to be a comparison to the 1986 film, and because that has the unfair advantage of being burned into our brains from childhood.
But for a reason.
For a reason, yes, but also because of the time that we saw it and all of that. Whereas there are people that, say what you will, aren't as keen on the 86 film, for example. Do you know what I mean? And they're coming to Rise of the Beasts more as their thing, so it's different audiences at different times. But I think there's still an element of, 86, as much as it is nostalgia and it is burnt in, it's hard to get around the fact that opening scene of Unicron was so amazing and so detailed and so vivid and visceral and everything. And I didn't quite feel like I got enough of that in this. Like I really, when
but Prime knew who he was.
Yeah, but like when he destroys the Maximal Homeworld at the start, I guess I was hoping for something on the level of what we saw in '86, you know, in terms of like awe. And it was cool, don't get me wrong. It was a cool sequence, but I didn't quite get that same level of like, oh my God, the world's ending. You know, it wasn't quite up there with that.
I think the problem with that scene is I liked it. I really like Unicron in the film.
I did. Yeah, I liked it, definitely.
I think the problem there is when Unicron's shooting the planet, he's the background. It's Scourge and Optimus Primal. Whereas in the '86 movie, you see it from like Kranix's and the people of Lithon's point of view is Unicron's looming and he's just destroying the planet. Whereas in this movie, he's always doing these things in the background to whatever Scourge is doing. It's all about Scourge. Like in the '86 movie, it becomes Galvatron, but it's very clear. It keeps flicking back to Unicron and you get these little characterful moments of them bickering. Whereas in this, you saw that there's only one or two of those, isn't there? It's very fleeting. It feels like Unicron is being left for later. All the way through the film, it still feels like he's being held back. It's just a different viewpoint, wasn't it? It was more about his minions in this film, whereas in '86, his minions come into it so much later.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And he is like posed as a background threat.
I think you're right that they probably are holding Unicron back for potential second, maybe even third film or whatever. I mean, it would make sense for if you're going to do a trilogy of these films, which is often the norm, that Unicron would be the ultimate bad guy. He'd be the thing that you'd want to see almost at the end of it, and that maybe his presence in this was just kind of a tease, if anything. I mean, as you said, Maz, he doesn't even transform, so they must be holding that back.
I want to see the design. I hope we get like some, the concept art that they've done, because they must have done concept art of what he would turn into.
Yeah, for sure. Imagine the toys, like if they did toys of it.
But it was so nice to see his planet mode. It looked great. I thought it was a really nice design. It was a kind of nice, not modernizing, it's just a different take, but not a different take in the style of like Transformers Prime, where he's a volcano or whatever it was, Earth, and stuff like that. Like we've seen other versions, and it's not quite the same.
Dare I say, I think it was pretty perfect, actually. Like it was live action Unicron as I would imagine it. It looked exactly like I would have wanted it to have looked. But I've heard no mention of toys or anything about it. It's funny because when we talked with Hasbro about it, they talked about Stratosphere and stuff like that, didn't they?
That was a really Bayformery character, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was just a slightly unwelcome return to form there. I just thought, not this again, really.
Came out of nowhere, I thought. Like, I had no idea. It was only when it turned out, I was like, I've seen a picture of his face before.
Yeah.
It was like when you mentioned Transit, and then I saw a photo and I was like, I remember this picture from before, early on in the production stuff. Wow.
Yeah, it's all been out there. It's all kind of been, doing the rounds and whatever. But yes, he was quite Bayformery. I thought it was funny that obviously they sort of set him up as this old dude, but the fact that he just sat out the final fight, the fact that he was like, I'm just
literally, you see him sat in the grass watching.
Yeah, it's just having a picnic or whatever. Yeah, and they're all fighting for their lives. Honestly, it was kind of funny. So, but all of that, it's just. Yeah, whatevs, isn't it? You just got to kind of go with it.
But I think in other movies, I have found that stuff easy to overlook because at the time, I know it's weird to say, but at the time, I enjoyed watching Dark of the Moon. Like in the theater, I enjoyed that movie experience. Yes, I did.
Oh, I did.
And I enjoyed Age of Extinction in the movie theater too.
Oh, dude.
I didn't enjoy Last Night, and I remember Revenge of the Fallen. Like I was with my wife, and I was like, "This is not a good film. This is a real disappointment after the first one." So I can overlook things because it's a live-action Transformers movie, and there are things that I enjoy enough to let them carry the experience. And I'm not saying I didn't enjoy this movie. It's just it wasn't on the level where I'd want to see it again, and it wasn't on the level where I was like, this is bad. It was just that middle ground, like, yeah, I guess I've seen this film too now, and that's okay. And it had good bits. Don't really need to see it again. And I'm actually struggling to remember some of the scenes that you guys are talking about. Like, I do not remember what it looked like when Unicron destroyed that planet. I cannot picture it.
It was quite brief, to be fair. Yeah. It didn't take a long time. See, conversely, I distinctly remember, actually, Revenge of the Fallen, I think I did enjoy
bits of it, yeah. And you'd want to rewatch, but I could tell it wasn't a good film.
No, I could tell that it had major problems, and of course there were bits in it that I was like, "What is this?"
Exactly.
But Dark of the Moon actually was the first one where I remember going to see it with my wife, and I remember we were sat there, and I remember about whatever the way through the film it was, and it was just all going off. It must have been fairly far through because it was in all the Chicago stuff, kind of in the second half or whatever. I remember thinking, I should be enjoying this, and I'm not. Like it was just so long and just so much.
I think that's how I felt in this one. That exact sentiment. I should be enjoying this, and I'm not there. Like I've missed a memo or something because, like you said, like all the hype pre-movie, and then coming out and speaking to you and our other friends, and virtually all of you enjoying it more than me. I feel like, did I go in incorrectly? Did I not see this properly? Like, did I not have the right head on for this on that day? It's a funny feeling, yeah.
It's perfectly valid, though. It's not an incorrect reaction to it at all.
I can
understand it.
You really nailed it with the I should be enjoying this thing. Like, that was absolutely a feeling.
I definitely got that with Dark of the Moon. It was such a weird feeling because it was like the first time. I remember even thinking, this is wall-to-wall giant robots doing all the stuff that I enjoy in Transformers fiction, and I'm just not connecting here at all. Like I'm actually bored, like to the point of like I could just stare at the ceiling or something.
That was Revenge of the Fallen for me. I remember the exact moment. It was halfway through, and it's a scene. I remember watching the scene, and you see the ships in the ocean, and it's sort of an aerial shot. And I think it's the bit where they go down and bring Megatron back to life. And I remember I was really, really disliking it. And I remember turning to my girlfriend and just saying, I think this is possibly the worst film I've ever seen. It's terrible. And then it only got worse. But I remember coming out of the cinema afterwards. I went to the pub with some mates because they were with us. And I was like, I think that is probably the worst film I've ever seen. And I'm not disappointed. I just thought it was terrible and incoherent. And they were like, what do you mean it was great? And I was like, did I watch a different film to other people?
Yeah. Well, I had that reaction to Dark of the Moon, because people were raving about it, going, oh, it's so much better than Revenge of the Fallen. And even now you get people who are like, oh, Dark of the Moon's the best of the Bay films. And I'm like,
it's the difference between being punched in the face and kicked in the nuts, though, I think. With those.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So,
I get that from TLK. Like, I left feeling that was the worst movie I'd ever seen in a cinema.
Well, I remember distinctly, and I know we've talked about this before on the pod, but you were sat next to me in that viewing, and I remember you just turned to me and just literally halfway through the film went, so have you been?
How's work?
Yeah, exactly. How's things? All right? I was like, yeah.
After Revenge of the Fallen, I didn't go and see any of the Bay films at the cinema. That was the last one. The rest I waited till they came out on DVD or the internet. Right. And then it was Bumblebee was the one that got me back, and that was...
Yeah. I didn't see Age of Extinction in the cinema. I was burnt out after Dark of the Moon. I was like, I can't do this again. I'm just not interested at all, really. I'd seen the trailers and stuff, and I was like, and it was being touted as like a new start, with new cast, Wahlberg, all of that. And to be honest, I was quite hopeful from the first trailer. I was kind of like, okay, actually, this could be interesting. And then just as more trailers came out, it was like, no, this is just the same stuff.
Yeah, it pretty was
the same thing. And it was. And I saw it when I saw it at home on TV. I was like, I didn't even watch it in one sitting. I remember I was like, I couldn't get through it. And it took me 3 or 4 attempts to watch the full thing. And I was just so disengaged from it. I found it really difficult.
I couldn't watch them now. I don't think.
I struggle with it, I must admit. There are elements of them that I do enjoy, and like individual scenes I think are great. I like the designs of the robots. That's something. I do actually like the designs. Not all of them. Like, I don't like things like some of the more, extremely like Q and things like that. I like whatever. But so a lot of the designs I really do like. But TLK was just...
Those movies, to me, I think they live better in social media, where you just see a snippet or an image and you go, that's cool. Enjoy that, rather than actually watching the full films again, because you're just like, oh my God, this is awful.
That's a really good thing to have come out of this episode, is removing the need for us to do dedicated episodes for those movies. I feel like we've covered it.
We're still doing it, man. We'll still go back for the full critique. Don't think you got out of it, because we're going to do the full critique on all the films. We're going to rewatch them. No, I'm joking.
I'm buying the biggest bottle of rum for when we do Revenge of the Fallen. The biggest bottle of rum.
I feel like we've got to do it at some point. Maybe we should do a live watch on pod. Like literally like a watch along.
Most unwelcomely long episode yet.
2.5, 3 hours of us watching Revenge of the Fallen.
I'm grateful that nothing in Rise of the Beasts makes me leave the cinema and think, I'm going to be embarrassed to be a Transformers fan around people who are going to go and see that. Nothing about that movie made me feel that way, and I'm grateful for it.
Well, isn't that a big step in the right direction?
But Bumblebee was like that too, but Bumblebee was beyond that, and it was like actually great, and I recommended it to people. I was like, you need to go and see this. This is wicked.
Yeah. Bumblebee to me is still the peak of the films.
I think you're right.
By far, it's great. Like
it's a personal story. I think that's the difference to this. It's not a it's got good action scenes, like I said earlier, but it's not a deliberate spectacle in the way the Bay films are. And then this film is sort of like that again, where it brings back massive, huge action set pieces. This one is a much more two characters with some other characters that appear, but it's focused very specifically on two.
Bumblebee, it's almost become a bit unpopular to say this now, to kind of go on about Bumblebee being so good, because it's almost like this weird kind of reverse reaction to it, where people are like, oh, like this. But I think it is legitimately a great film. Like, I think the coming of age stuff for me works perfectly. I tell you what really sells that film for me, actually, aside from it being funny, the fights being great, the setting being great, the characters are good, all of that, is the dead dad stuff. I hate to say it, but I really think it resonates.
Yeah.
And as
emotional.
as someone that's lost parental figures and whatever else, I think there is stuff in there that really kind of connects, and it is just simply but beautifully served, and it's like a proper classic 1980s coming of age film. It has all those right elements to it, and it does it really well.
That's what I was trying to say earlier, when I was saying to Maz, it was that I think the thing about this is I liked it. I thought it was good, but there was nothing in it that really resonated or really connected beyond it being Transformers references that are new. But there was nothing that's what I was trying to say about the Indiana Jones scene. It's like there's nothing that came out afterwards and was like, man, that was so memorable. That's something that will live on beyond the film. It'll be one of the things that people like the arrival to Earth scene in the first Transformers film. It's something everybody instantly remembers. It's that scene film. Whereas in this, it's like there are scenes I remember, but not for the reasons of it being great in this movie. It's stuff we discuss on a podcast. You know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff, but it's not that. Like the 86 movie has the Optimus Prime death scene, and it's so memorable beyond the movie itself. It's like if you haven't seen the film, or that's something that instantly memorable. With this film, like there wasn't really anything that really landed.
The Transformers will return after these messages.
Right, well, it's that time for the part of the pod where we do our sponsor segment, and that is, as ever, TFSauce.com. You can check them out for all your Transformers and third-party needs. And they've got lots of lovely stuff in stock at the moment. Some good Rise of the Beast merch there. I'm seeing Optimus Prime and all kinds of stuff. There's a Bumblebee, the 3-0 Deluxe one. There's some really good stuff. The new Studio Series toys that have just been announced. Lots of it. But we've got something a little bit different in mind, don't we?
We'll be buying that. Yes.
Right. We got something a bit different in mind for tonight.
Just called him Jazz, didn't I?
You did call him Jazz. I was trying to gloss over it.
Mirage.
God. Mirage.
Poxy.
Oh, he's one of them guys now.
Oh my God, it's a Mirage. But yeah, I was trying to gloss over it and move on to because we're going to talk about another Optimus Prime toy tonight, aren't we? Which is the Volvo VNR.
Absolute must buy for me. This I skipped the Christmas one because Christmas, but this is a must buy. That head sculpt looks like the best Optimus Prime head sculpt since the Binaltech one.
Oof, that's quite the claim.
Ooh.
It looks beautiful. What a lovely looking vehicle mode. Like robot mode looks like it transforms in a super cool way with the cab parts on his legs. And I've not experienced this mold yet, but this looks so I love the tires on the back of his just back of his shoulders too.
Backpack. Yeah. It's cool. He's got a double set of tires there, so it's actually his whole. It's not just his shoulders; it's his whole backpack.
Oh, it looks really good. It looks really posable too. And you guys already love this toy, don't you?
Yeah, it's great. The mold is fantastic. You're right about the head sculpt. It's one of the things I noticed straight away on the Christmas one, even though it's got the Santa style beard for the faceplate. But like the head sculpt is just fantastic. You look at it, it is wonderful. But the transformation on it's fantastic. The whole toy, and like you said, it is so posable. It's fun to pose. And it's complex for one of these toys, which is a bit more than you usually see on these kind of toys, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. It's definitely, like in comparison to Earthrise Optimus, although it's kind of a similar, size and all of that, it does feel like it's just got more to it in terms of posability and just complexity a little bit. Like the transformation's really something. Like it's one of the most creative Optimus Prime, like typical Optimus Prime toys that I've seen in a long time, I think, actually, particularly in the main line.
Yeah, because the head ends up under the back of the truck bed, doesn't it? Rather than inside the chest, which is the standard Optimus Prime thing. It's in a completely different place. It's a bit like Legacy Motormaster. It's very similar in that way. Like he ends up with the wheels on the back and the head under there.
Well, a lot of people were convinced that this was going to be a Motormaster retool when it was first, glimpsed. And Hasbro even came out saying it's not, and people were like convinced it was. Honestly, they were even.
Well, it's because it's obviously Silverbolt, isn't it? It's not
yeah, absolutely.
Well, Beast Wars Silverbolt.
Even stuff like the way his little grill abs for his robot mode fold out, like they fold from the sides.
I can see the hinges.
Little hinge. Yeah, it's actually formed. I was really surprised by that. Like they just come out of the sides of the sort of truck mode, if you like, and fold around to form the grill abs. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I really like it. I like this type of crossover. They've actually done a crossover with a vehicle brand. I love that. That reminds me of Vinyl Tech, and I think more of this would be right up my street. But is there any weight to the rumor that this mold was supposed to be for an Amazon Prime crossover that didn't quite make it over the line?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was absolutely that. Yeah.
Did someone post on Twitter this week that it's to do with Amazon getting rid of those trucks or something like that? I'm sure that's what I saw. Was they had a fleet of the Volvo trucks, and apparently they were too difficult to drive or something, and so they switched them out, and that's why they didn't do it.
I believe that's exactly the case. Yeah, it's all they were going to have this big fleet of Volvo trucks, and it's no longer a thing. It's capitalism and whatever else, and it's not happening. Money and so instead, this obviously got kind of, I presume, kiboshed as a collaborative deal, and now it's made it as just a straight up Volvo Optimus Prime instead. And why not?
I love that this exists. I just wish it had a new trailer too. That would have been absolutely perfect.
It would have been nice if they'd have done up the trailer as well, even if they were going to use this one. But I think the only thing that stands out as odd is the trailer door is black. I've noticed in the pictures, whereas it seems odds with the rest of the toy, with the rest of the trailer.
That is weird. Yeah, actually, the little combat dick. Combat dick? Oh my god!
No, that's the Christmas version, mate.
Wow!
Oh my god!
It's late, isn't it? It's really late.
It's like Silverbolt spreading his legs again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Combat dick.
That's the next Patreon tier.
Get that on a t-shirt.
Oh, congrats! Oh, that was worth staying up for. That would never have happened if this movie hadn't been made.
Yep. Yeah. Combat dick. We'll end it there, shall we? That's the sponsor segment. There you go. Check out tfsource.com for all your Transformers and third-party
needs.
We now return to the Transformers.
I think there's one thing we really do need to talk about, though, and it's how do you feel about Mirage giving his body and his tech to Noah, and Noah then fighting as a dude in a suit?
I liked it.
Yeah, I was into it.
Interesting and fresh, and I think
comprehensively hated it. I have to tell you, I was like, no.
Why?
No.
Really? Didn't like it that strong?
Like it. Yeah, but I didn't see the need to make the human such a hero at the cost of the character that way. It was almost better that he just died. And I would have hated that too. But I don't know. Yeah, that didn't work for me at all. I didn't think the film needed it. And I just thought, why? I thought what Noah had done up to that point was sort of heroic enough. Do you know what I mean? And it was the more realistic contribution that he had made instead of becoming part Transformer. Because it also didn't feel like it was him and Mirage. It didn't feel like that. It felt like it was more.
To feel like that.
No, exactly. So, yeah, it just felt like an extra, a bit too far.
I quite liked it because I felt like it added something new and different. And I think that's the one thing I would have taken away from this film, that it added something new to the mythos or to the franchise. And it reminded me a lot of, like stuff like Target Masters and stuff like that. How
but you were just saying that there was nothing franchise altering.
Well, no, not like that. But I mean, it can still add new elements, but there was nothing that really stood out as I was like, wow, this will be remembered for years, like a scene or something. But I mean, as an element, a little dude in a suit.
Exactly. It's that for me alongside stuff like the exosuits from the 86 film, or like, as you said, I had the feeling of like Power Masters and that kind of stuff, and those kind of suits. That's exactly kind of where I saw it as well. And I don't know, it didn't feel out of place for me.
I think the only thing I was disappointed by was we lost his shoes, because he's got those Air Jordan 6s all the way through the film, which I thought was fantastic. And this was like a proper pop culture moment in the film, wasn't it, where they're playing to that crowd, because you even get that shot where he turns and the camera zooms in on his trainers at one point, and it's almost like he looks at the screen and like grins.
That
know if you guys
totally
spotted that.
passed me by. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I did not get that at all.
So it's the Air Jordan 6, also the shoe that Keaton wears in Batman Returns for the boot.
That was
I saw your
that was for folks
tweet
like
about
you,
that.
Liam. That was
Yeah.
all for you.
That was a
Exactly.
very specific audience of one in mind with that one, I think.
But it's funny though because it launched the week before the Flash movie came out, where Michael Keaton returns as Batman.
Yeah, it's true. We're in rise of the nostalgia at the moment in terms of
That's where we
cinema
are, yeah.
goings, aren't we? But no, the Noah stuff. Honestly, I liked it personally. I actually came out and
It's the best human.
yeah, it's definitely.
I think so. Yeah. Best lead.
It wasn't
that we've had.
overbearing.
One of the best leads.
No.
Yeah,
It didn't
I did like
dominate the
Charlie.
robots. And I think that.
Yeah.
I like Charlie.
The
but-
casting was better.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's okay to say it, but I think the wider representation in the casting is a good thing for the
100%.
movie
Yeah,
and for the
100%.
franchise and just generally for today's world.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, 100%.
It's quite woke, isn't it? It's a bit woke. Do you not think it's a bit woke? Maybe.
It's just representative.
I'm joking. I'm obviously joking. I'm just being like, a send up it's funny because, there is a video doing the rounds or something. I've not seen it, but I've seen people tweeting about it or whatever about some video that's like talking about woke formers or whatever. And it's like,
kill me now.
I know.
Come on.
It's like, what's woke about it? That literally
People are idiots.
it's
man.
that it's got two leads that are people of color.
If you're seeing people of color in a movie and noticing it to that degree, then that tells you how much we'd gone in the wrong direction and how much this
100%.
should just be the norm. And it's just, that's Noah, that's Charlie. Those are the people who lead the movie.
Exactly.
But they
We're
don't
rebels.
even. There's not, to my mind anyway. There's no reference to their ethnicity or anything. Is there in the film? So it doesn't. It's not
Maybe just the bit where Noah speaks to Wheeljack.
in Spanish. Yeah, I mean, but even then, it's not.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good scene. I don't know. It's a ridiculous thing. I think it's a very minor critique from a certain.
It's not a critique. It's just people
internet.
being idiots. Because obviously,
right.
I guess you're absolutely right.
for me and you, Mass, obviously we're both brown, so it's nice to see people. And I don't get it when people are like, it's
Triple woke over.
It makes no sense. So, yeah. But we're both brown, and so you see this thing and you see these characters, and it's just like they're just normal people. I don't understand when you just get this kind of thing like, why are they doing this? It's like, it's because what people look like. Why can't
Residents
other
of New
people
York
do
City
this?
could
Yeah,
potentially look like that and be those people.
I remember once, I can't remember what it was about, but it was something to do with Transformers. I think it was even around Bumblebee. I can't remember, but and someone was talking and they replied to me saying, "Oh, the world is not as diverse as people like you would imagine it to be." And I'm like, "What? Have you stepped outside of your front door? Like, have you met people?" Like,
I will say, like,
ridiculous.
one of the things it took me a while to really pick up on it in the Bay movies is that the people of color were always the sidekicks, but always the comedy sidekicks. So in this film, and you think this is the 7th Transformers film, and you finally get main characters who are not just regular white people, they're people of different ethnic backgrounds, and it's like 7 films and you finally get these people like that, and it's people complain about it. You're like, it's ridiculous, man.
but people complained that Charlie was a woman as well, and it's all so silly. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
I thought they were great. I thought the girl was good. I just thought she was a bit underserved. Like, she was only mostly there to read the map. I just think she needed a bit more, like Noah had. I just think she needed a bit more.
Yeah, it's a fair critique. I can sort of see what you're saying there, but still, I enjoyed her character, and I like that they didn't make them into a couple at the end. I really appreciate that they didn't have to have like a romantic. To me, there was no romantic vibes. I saw some people suggesting that there was an element of that because she put she put her head on his shoulder at the end of the film, and I was like, they've just been through quite an ordeal. Like, that's literally. I just took it that they were buddies,
Just exhausted.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of like the ending because she's got the kind of conclusion to her arc, and that she's got the recognition and stuff that she didn't get at the start. And I feel like maybe that character could just be one and done. Like Elena, I don't feel like necessarily she would need to come back for future films, whereas I think there's more to do with Noah. So, but let's see.
I actually really liked the bit at the end with Noah where he's being interviewed.
Yeah,
I just thought I thought that was a really good scene and felt like a very believable moment for that character.
I would agree. But I know you weren't keen on the human suit on the Transformers suit
Nah.
thing, Maz. But I honestly, like Liam said, for me, so like I saw it with my wife and we came out, and one thing we both agreed on was it was nice that actually the human had something to do in the kind of final fight and whatever, because it's not been a thing so much in previous films. A little bit in Dark of the Moon, I guess, but not majorly.
But they also have a movie where Spike shoves was it the Endron cube? The cube. There we go.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yes, actually in 2007. But often they have to find like Patrick Dempsey for him to fight or something like that, don't they? And it's like they have their little human fight off to the side, and then the Transformers do their thing.
No, Patrick Dempsey is the woo-woo kid. You're thinking of Kelsey Grammer. That's Frasier.
No, Patrick Dempsey was in Dark of the Moon.
Yeah, but he was also the woo-woo kid.
What's the woo-woo kid?
I think it was one of his first movies. Like, he used to be on Sky repeatedly.
Okay.
Way back in his early career.
How random that you didn't go for McDreamy as a kind of cultural reference, but hey-ho. But yeah, no, they was going to have like their human fisticuffs whilst the Transformers are having their robot fisticuffs, and it's always seemed a bit contrived to me, whereas I quite liked that actually. In this, it was, no human antagonist. It was all robot bad guys, and the human got to make his mark.
So relieved there was no military or secret
organizations
true.
Absolutely.
That was the one thing I liked about the last scene with the G.I. Joe guy was
gratitude.
They were very complimentary about the Transformers. It was like they wanted them on the side rather than being like, oh, we're humans, we've got to band together, and these guys are going to destroy our world, so we've got to secretly take them out. Something like, oh god. So I was relieved they didn't go that route. I thought that's where that was going again.
Yeah, I think the next film, assuming it continues that thread, could be kind of intriguing, because I don't even think it has to be a straight up Transformers times G.I. Joe crossover. I think it could just be a Transformers film that has a couple of popular or seemingly even mid-tier G.I. Joe characters in, a couple of like recognizable Joe names. Doesn't have to even be like Snake Eyes or whatever, it could just be some kind of mid-tier characters, and I think that would be fine. I think if it was suddenly 50% Transformers and 50% G.I. Joe, I think that might be a bit of a hard sell.
I think it'd be a shame as well, because it feels like we've just finally got to the point where the Transformers have got the spotlight in a Transformers movie.
Exactly.
Rather than the humans. So it'd be a shame to reverse and go back to it being humans more than robots.
Speaking of Transformers being the spotlight, I don't think that the bad guys were, I don't want to say in it enough, but they weren't, Transformers has always had really good bad guys. Like the Decepticons have always been. We were just talking today about the RID-15 bad guys, Decepticon, and how special they were and how distinct. This didn't feel that way to me. I didn't feel like the bad robots in the movie were enough. Not enough of them, but they just weren't enough. And they had 3 to work with, but they weren't enough.
I think that maybe the disappointing thing there is that they kind of went the cannon fodder route of having these freezers, as I think the toy is called, but the frenzies basically. Yeah. And I feel like you could have almost removed those and got the main robot characters, the bad guys, to do a bit more. So they could have been the ones chasing them in like the building and down the in the tunnels in Peru and things like that. And maybe not have 3 bad guys, maybe have 4 or 5 and kill one of them through the course of the film. And that could have been fine.
Yeah, they're never going to be as standout as Barricade or Blackout even. They were so much more standout than these guys to me. Yeah. Even if they weren't that much better overall, but they were so much more standout.
I felt the final battle would have been so much better if it was just the Autobots and the Maxicals versus the Unicron Heralds. And that they were because they were depicted as being so much more powerful. So it's like the battle would be them facing those rather than this horde of identikit characters, because there was nothing memorable there. You're just like looking at the sea of samey looking villains that looked. It was just this very bland scape, wasn't it? It wasn't like anything like a scene you would really remember beyond. There was just a lot of stuff happening. But it's like if they were the big threat there and that's what they were facing, it would have been way more memorable, and it would have given those characters more to do.
I liked the final battle, and I think that a lot of the kind of choreography of the fights in the final battle is really good, and I think there is some there are some bits of it which are really
so many last second rescues again. It's just so
there was. I think the biggest problem with it is definitely that it kind of moves very quickly to this generic sort of fake-scaped area, just indistinct grey mass. And as much as the fight is exciting in places and has its kind of moments, it doesn't visually kind of stand out as such. It's very kind of a bit murky in places and
it's
whatever.
very DC movie, like the end of Batman, Superman, and Justice League, where they land in a very wide open space, which is very obviously designed to be easy to just chuck things into. A bit like like the 07 movie, like the final battle scene is memorable because they're in the city, so it feels like a lived-in world where characters are interacting and with things. Whereas here it was like they're all in this wide open desert and there's a random tower, but all these things are happening there. So the ground has no personality or nothing memorable about it. It just looks like a big CGI battle. And I think it's harder to blend CGI when it's all CGI. Whereas if you have a street, stuff looks real, so the CGI blends into the background of it more because it passes through it and it interacts with stuff that looks real.
I'm sure it was done a big part of it anyway because of cost. Because I've no doubt that the budget for producing a third act battle, which is in a generic, presumably computer generated, land where everything is essentially you're watching like a CGI cartoon almost. I've no doubt that it's going to be cheaper than trying to incorporate lots of humans running around and real cars and whatever else. I could be off base on that, but that would be my theory at least. But that said, I totally agree with you about 07, but I feel like by the time, as I say, Dark of the Moon rolled round, and especially by the time Age of Extinction rolled round, I was like, I'm done with these big city battles now. It's just too much. And then you got stuff like Man of Steel and things like that as well, where it was all like punching through buildings.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, I must admit, I feel like I'm over that now. So I don't know what the solution is. I feel like if they'd have done a big city battle in this, I would have been a bit like, okay. Whereas, I don't know what the solution could have been.
Yeah, I don't think it was a city thing. I really do remember about the 07 movie, like Starscream had a distinct role in that last fight. Blackout had a distinct role. Megatron had a distinct role. It was about the Decepticons and fighting them. And obviously it did become all about fighting Scourge at the end. But yeah, it's just that horde and the way that everyone was just busy somewhere else. And then at an opportune moment, they had dealt with whatever they needed to deal with and they could join the fight at the end and help Prime or help Noah or help Mirage or whatever it was. Just, not enough memorable there for me, to be honest. It's actually quite mad to me how much of the movie I've forgotten. But like I said, it's not bad. It isn't bad. Like I'm no way offended by it. In no way. My disappointment comes from having the incorrect expectation going in. I think I didn't watch any of the trailers apart from the first one. I didn't read any of the information and stuff. Like I just thought I'll just go in and see what surprise. I didn't get any of the spoilers before, which was great. I just thought let's just go and experience it. And I think I was expecting something different.
Yeah,
that's on me. That's completely fair. Like I said, there's the Transformers brain and then there's the first experience brain.
Why don't we hit on some of the things that we really did enjoy about the film? Because I think we've probably done a good and fairly thorough job of kind of picking apart, different elements of it and whatever. But what were some of the absolute outright love this about it elements?
Mirage's look.
Mirage's look. There you go.
Yeah. And the things that he could do, I think was super cool.
The dump truck scene stands out as a highlight.
That's great. Just also the clones, that was really nicely done. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch. His transformations are great.
Yes, all of his transformation scenes. I thought even like the one in the alley with Noah's little brother and stuff like that, I thought was a really great little moment. I like that they did the clones early on, the bit that we saw in the trailer, but then they repeated it in the final battle and stuff like that. I thought that was a good payoff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love seeing so much Optimus Prime. I wasn't a fan of how angry he was at times, but I really liked seeing him in that G1 style, just robot mode, moving about. And the scenes where he transformed were wicked. Like the one where he's basically just sat down, like he transformed like the toy. And I thought that was just tremendous.
Yeah. There was a lot of that,
I just thought his interactions as well with people, even though he was bitter, I quite enjoyed seeing a slightly different slant. I just wish it wasn't quite, I wish it would have just gone a little bit, I don't know, more of an arc to it. There's more of a payoff to him being angry at the start.
Yeah, fair enough.
I liked RC's transformations as well.
Oh my gosh.
Super cool.
I loved RC's design because I love that she just looks like somebody who's gone to the gym. She's got that like 80s gym wear, like through the leggings. And I was like, watching on screen, I was like, this is excellent. I just like the way she was always in the
She's a
background.
Ducati. It was like the
Yeah.
best looking bikes out there. And she's a Ducati.
But
It's pretty
even
cool.
the way it says Ducati comes on her leg, like she's wearing like sports jogging bottoms, and I just thought it was just a
super cool design. I actually thought it was a pretty timeless RC design. I was like, it was one where it was almost, if that was what the franchise adopted as RC moving forward, I think a lot of people would be happy with it, because I think it's, it's got kind of elements that call back to Transformers Prime even, but it's kind of classic G1 in its way, but something different. I thought it was really great.
Love Nightbird's car mode.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
The moment it was on screen, yeah.
Yeah, I thought, because for a moment I was like, oh wait, who's that? And then I look at the colours, and I liked Air Razor. I thought Air Razor was fantastic. Really looked amazing.
Yeah.
She really did.
I do wish she transformed. I think it's such a shame that he didn't do that.
I wish she
and
hadn't
feel
died.
Like yeah.
I liked Bumblebee being killed and taken out of the movie quite early on.
I know we mentioned that earlier. I feel like we haven't talked about that enough, because it was ridiculous. It did take me out a bit, because it did definitely make me feel like, okay, he's obviously coming back. The worst bit is that actually, if you have seen all the trailers, they put his comeback moment when he jumps out of the stratosphere in the trailers.
True.
So it's
that's true.
I was literally sat there when it's like we're supposed to be thinking he's dead. My first thought was, well, I know how he comes back. He's that. And I remember thinking, presumably that bit where he jumps out in the trailer of the plane is the comeback moment, and it was.
Also, that's another thing I really liked. LL Cool J, Mama Said Knock You Out. Loved it.
Yeah.
Great
the soundtrack was incredible. I love hip hop, and the soundtrack was incredible. But it was just nice to see Bumblebee taken off the board for a bit, because he's such a big presence in these films.
I agree.
And it was just nice to not hear the beep, boop, 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 or the constant things just for a little bit in a film. It's just nice for it to move on.
But also, it also felt like a very forced, we're going to leave Bumblebee out for this movie.
Yeah.
That was also a very noticeable thing. Like, it didn't just... It felt like we're killing him to leave him out for a bit.
It was a bit happy.
I like that.
For sure.
Yeah, it was...
Happy to get rid of him.
Yeah, I realised that, but ham-fisted a little bit, I think. But anyway, we're talking about the good things.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't mind the way they did it. I do think it was a bit ham-fisted, but yeah, it was also good, I agree, to not have him there for a little bit, I think.
Like I said before, I love the human characters. I really like Noah. I thought he was great. I like I've said it a few times, so I just like the fact he didn't overshadow the Transformers. And again, I really like the actress who played Elena. I thought it was Elena, wasn't it? That was
Elena, yeah.
I think I accidentally called her Charlie earlier, actually.
But I thought she was great. I just think I wish she had a bit more to do, but I thought the scenes she was in, I think she was really good. And like I said, the acting, like Michelle Yeoh was quite good as Eraser.
I thought so too. Yeah,
I thought the voice acting overall was brilliant. Honestly, I thought
did
all of
Scourge?
it was great.
Because
It was Peter Dinklage.
all I could hear was Nimoy. And the way through, I was like, I'm sure Leonard Nimoy's dead.
It was quite an interesting voice, actually. Like, it didn't sound like Peter Dinklage. I knew who it was going in, but it didn't sound like him, I didn't think at all. Like, that's no surprise you didn't sort of recognize it. So I thought that was super interesting.
He had one really good line I enjoyed, was when Prime was fighting him and Prime realized that he couldn't best him, and he just said, I love that look on the face of someone who realizes they've come across their better. I thought that was a really good line. That moment, I thought, that's a bit more interesting. It was the fact that they acknowledge that he is super powerful and everyone has noticed, and it's not just a standard, oh yeah, bad guy turns up, beats everyone up, because that's what the bad guys do in these movies. Like, all of a sudden, like, I can tell you're surprised about this. And that I liked. Also pretty cool how he was stealing their badges and attaching them to him. That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
There's a moment in the film when Optimus Prime knocks his mask off, and
oh man,
I didn't really think he was supposed to be anyone, but the way it pans
so
the camera,
weird.
I was like, oh, it's going to be someone important.
There's
a reveal here, and then it looks up to us like,
this is literally what I was just about to say myself. So, are you aware, Maz, if you've not read much about this film prior, I don't know, maybe you've not come across this. Did you see the rumor about who Scourge might really be?
No.
Okay, so this is mad now to talk about. Some people on the interwebs started this rumor that he was going to be 2007 Optimus Prime come back in time. Yeah, because they got a picture. Someone got a picture of Scourge's
the head
controller,
crest
and the head crest is the same.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. So, and it started this whole rumor that they were going to go super meta, and because it was like a time travel story, and that he would be a herald of Unicron, come back from the future, if you like, like Murder Prime or whatever. Give me your face. And now he's working for Unicron. And of course, it turned out to be bullshit. But a lot of people kind of were touting this idea of like, what if? And I have to say, for my part, I was like, I don't think they're going to do that. It would be hilarious if they did do that. Like,
a bit
it would-
interesting.
it would have
Agent
been-
Hook mode is
yeah.
similar to 07 Optimus Prime, isn't it?
I would have been
Very-
like, what? What?
Yeah,
I think
that
that
would have
really
been truly
interesting.
mind blowing.
Yeah, yeah.
That would
Yeah.
have been like, I
Oh.
can't believe they did that.
Oh, easy come, easy go. I'm bummed now. That's not
Yeah, I mean,
I
imagine
don't know
like
why I would have even liked it, but I just think I would have.
yeah, exactly. Imagine this Optimus Prime battling a future evil version of himself that we've already seen, and like knowing that it is actually a sort of sequel to the Bayformers films. And I think that could have been actually quite intriguing. I'm not going to lie.
Wowza.
Yeah,
There would have been a way to tie it in whilst making it not the same, by
Yeah.
saying we're moving on. But it was the way it was deliberately filmed. Whoever did it has done it deliberately to make you think something's about
Yes.
to happen, because it lingers on it so much, and the way it slowly pans up, it's not like a dramatic look at his face. It's all messed up. It's like this is going to be somebody important. There's a reveal here.
Because the camera's almost down on the floor for a minute, like it's sort of showing you his mask, and it's like, and even the music is like that tension music of like, and he's talking whilst you can't see his face. So the whole thing is shot and designed to make you feel like a reveal is coming. And you and I are not the only people that have thought and felt that. So it's very definitely done in that way. And then the reveal is, oh, he's got a bit of a messed up face.
Maybe they read more than meets the eye. They've followed that pattern.
Maybe
With
so.
something I just realised you haven't seen yet, so we can't talk about it.
Oh, okay. Right, great. Potential spoilers there. But yeah, it was a weird moment for sure.
Sorry I'm late. I was taking in a harmonious moment between a serene butterfly and an unruffled caterpillar. Such tranquility.
What did you guys think about Wheeljack?
Did not really gel with it at all. It's just like,
Pablo.
I don't know why I had to be there at all.
But I think it was quite fun in the scenes he showed up. It was quite a fun character. Just the little
Yeah.
bits. He was so rarely in it.
Yeah, he wasn't in it much at all. In a way, that's kind of what I think is the funniest legacy of Pablo, such as he is that he was the very much, apart from like, oh, it's Mirage and not Jazz and stuff like that, he was very much like the focal point of a lot of the online discussion about this film for at least a year, maybe 18 months prior to its release.
Has it really
Like-
been that long?
Yeah. Ever since the first toy, I think it was a toy reveal. I think it was one of the toys of Wheeljack anyway, was the first proper look at what the character was going to look like. And
It
a
was,
lot
it
of
was
people,
a leaked toy, wasn't there?
yeah, it was. And since that drop, man, it's not stopped. It's been constant griping about what it looks like. A lot of people have kind of adopted it almost and been like, no, it's fantastic. Then there was the whole rumor that the character was going to be redesigned. They were going to do a Sonic the Hedgehog, and it was almost going to have like ugly Wheeljack and another Wheeljack. That they were going to kind of. I know, right? Like you're pulling a face, and I'm like, yep, sounds ridiculous. But people were convinced of this.
Stop.
I know.
Stop.
I did find it funny that it lent a little bit into Wheeljack and RC there pairing up. After we were talking
Yeah.
about the '86 movie and the script
Right.
that was changed with there's supposed to be Wheeljack and RC banter.
That's true. Misogynist Wheeljack.
I just
Yeah.
kept expecting him to say football is life all the way through. I just couldn't get past Danny Rojas.
They should have called him Diego and had a little Maradona sort of colours.
But
Goodness,
it
that
was
a
just funny
weird
to
one.
me that the discourse was so strong and so relentless for like at least a year online, and then bros in the movie like 5 minutes. Literally. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's the comparison of the amount of time we've collectively spent talking about this character versus the amount he's on the screen is just ridiculous.
I suppose one thing I did also like, it was one other thing in hindsight, I'm thinking, well, that maybe was a little bit different, was the fact that in all of the movies, the humans kind of, when it gets to that part of the movie, they're all on board with the robots. Like they are in there with Optimus and his crew and they're there to help. Whereas these two were in Stratosphere saying, yeah, listen, I don't care what these guys want to say. We might just have to destroy this thing and look after
Yeah.
ourselves. That was new, actually. I'm thinking
like
about
that.
it.
I do think that some of the character dynamics and stuff I think worked. Honestly, I got very few major complaints about this film. I don't think I've got any major complaints, but very few complaints overall. I think one thing I would say, and I do think this is probably part of it for us, and it's worth acknowledging. Maybe we should have done earlier, but Maz, I said this to you before we hit record tonight, is that I do wonder if this film had landed for us at a different stage of our life, if we would maybe be a bit more wow about it.
If this was the first Transformers film, it would have been amazing.
Exactly.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah,
I do really believe that. Yeah,
it really would be. But also, you got to remember that we are of a certain age, and we have, now become very accustomed to seeing this stuff and seeing it in the cinema and whatever else. And you cannot go back and recreate the experience. I was 25 when I saw Transformers 2007. I cannot recreate that experience ever.
No. I didn't need that recreate though, because Bumblebee was a great experience and it didn't recreate that.
True.
It's just I just wanted to see a really good film with a great plot and great acting and something compelling. I just like they've done with other franchises that I've gone to see movies. I saw Dune and Blade Runner, and I was so into those films. Like they asked us on stage at TFN, who do you want to see direct the Transformers movie? And I said Denis Villeneuve. I want that for Transformers.
I don't think you're ever going to get that for the toy franchise, though, man. That's the thing.
It's not a sci-fi mothership the way those two things are.
Transformers, Blade Runner.
It's not that franchise, and that's what we've said about like More Than Meets the Eye, for example, is that it's almost, yes, it's a comic, but it almost is elevated because it's better than you might expect than a comic for Transformers would be.
That's what I guess I wanted on screen. Something of that stature, and
it's not going to happen
depth
anytime soon. I don't think.
No, I agree with you.
But I do think that for me, taking it on its own merit and understanding the sphere that it's in and that it exists in, I think it was a very good Transformers film for me.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, it's going to turn them onto the franchise. I think it's going to be good for it as well. Because like I said, it wasn't a bad film. I was so reluctant to do this episode because I did not want to come on here and ditch on the movie. I did not want to be a hater. I didn't want to sound like it was a bad movie because I realized the only reasons I have negative feelings or not super positive, it's all me. It's all because of what I took in there and who I am and what I've experienced in Transformers and what I wanted. So maybe specifically it didn't work for me as a big moment in time. But I think now, like having had this discussion, would quite be interested to go and see it again. And I actually think maybe now would be the best time for me to go and see it again.
Let your beasts rise all over again.
Yeah, I enjoyed the beasts.
There's a difference though between not liking a film and a film being disappointed. Or being disappointed in a movie, isn't there? Like,
yeah, I think you're right.
There's films that I've seen that people say are great movies, and I'm like, I thought it was good. I was just disappointed it wasn't something that I thought it was going in, if that makes sense.
Right.
It doesn't make
for
it
sure.
bad. And I think that's maybe where you're sitting on this.
I think so.
You're trying to explain that it's not that you think it's a bad film. It's just you were disappointed that it wasn't what you were hoping for it to be.
I would hate for someone who loves this movie to listen to this episode and take what I've said as some way dampening their enthusiasm, because I really don't want that. I don't want my feelings to be the majority feeling on this. I more wish that I could have way more buzzed feelings about that movie, because I remember what it's like to leave a Transformers movie from the cinema and be buzzed, and I just wanted that again, really.
That's the thing that you've had that standard set for you now. There's a bar, isn't there, where you've come out and you've had that emotional high, and it's hard, like Sixo was saying, it's hard to recapture that. And like you were saying, it's not that you're expecting that, but you've there's a bar, isn't it? So when you come in, it's like something else that's never quite attains anything. So you look at it differently.
I would say I've got a bit of that buzz going on. I if nothing else, I am feeling very positive about where the film franchise is at and where it could go from here. I hope that whatever comes next is not a crushing disappointment. I would love that. But it feels good to me to, kind of as you said, Maz, to have a film that's in cinemas that is doing relatively well and is not a huge embarrassment to us as Transformers fans.
It's going to age okay.
Good. Yes, exactly. That we're not all going to be looking at in 10 years' time going, well, this is a total nightmare in some way. Do you know what I mean? And it's not questionable, I suppose. No.
It's watchable. It's coherent. I really enjoyed the fact that it was a film you could just sit down and watch, and it made sense from where it started to where it ended. There was nothing that kept dragging you out to be like, this is annoying, like the parents or the dog or that sort.
Sure thing.
The silly,
Yeah.
the Bay humor or the stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
I do not miss the Michael Bay. Every 5 minutes, you get a shot of someone getting out of a car from really low down an angle.
No.
Because it's what
I
they were
don't
doing
miss
in a
that.
music video with curtains blowing in the background. All that stupid nonsense.
Dude, you were inside me is on the line though.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah, that was borderline.
But one of those is acceptable, and
Right.
it was borderline, and it was one off,
Yeah.
and it's but yeah, more would have been. Again, there was no dogs riding each other or anything, so I was happy in that regard.
Yeah, like, I genuinely came out and I was like, it was good. I liked it. I was happy with it. It wasn't my favorite film I've ever seen. It wasn't the best one I've seen, but I just enjoyed it. Like, there are so many worse films I've seen, and there are so many films. But there's the thing. It's like it's when I was thinking when I came out. It's like I'd like to see it again, and I'd never felt like that with Revenge of the Fallen, Dark of the Moon. It was more, God, please don't make another one of these.
I would definitely see it again. 100%, I would see it again. So maybe then, as a final thing, what's your new ranking then? Best to worst Transformers films. What do you think?
For me, Bumblebee is my favorite Transformers film.
Yeah, for sure.
And this didn't give me the same buzz as the 07 movie did, but I like it more. It's just like you were saying. I think I've seen so much in between, but there's more stuff in this that I enjoyed, and so I think I would give it a solid B rating.
Ooh.
If I had to give it a score.
Okay. So are you putting it number 2 then? Is that what you're saying? In terms of the 7 films overall?
Yeah, because I really liked it. I mean, I know we've broke it down. This is a different kind of discussion, I think, rather than going, it's great.
We're being purposely critical of some of it.
It's nice to break it down and examine it, but yeah, I really did enjoy it. So, and I can't say that about any of the sequels. I loved the first one, and I still like it now, but I think there's such a wow factor that comes with it that's different to...
Yeah.
I think I prefer this film, but I preferred how I felt about the other one.
It's a big distinction.
My initial reaction, yeah.
So it's 2007 number 3?
Oh, God, yeah. Then the other ones just don't count because...
Okay, and then whatever.
they're all the worst.
M.A.S.K?
Except for Revenge of the Fallen, which is the worst film I've ever seen. So
I think Bumblebee or the 07 movie definitely rank above this for me.
Mm-hmm.
But see, the other movies, what they did wrong is so much more heinous than anything this film did wrong. But what they did right is better than what this did right for me.
Ooh.
There are scenes I would watch again in Dark of the Moon, Age of Extinction, and even Revenge of the Fallen. That forest fight, come on.
The forest fight's great, yeah.
I don't think there was anything in this movie that was better than that for me as an action scene of Transformers. Nothing I'd want to... I can't even tell you one I'd go back and watch.
I quite like the rolling down the hill one. I thought that was
good. Yeah,
good.
it was nice. It was kind of different, but I don't feel the need to watch it again. I really don't.
Yeah.
There was nothing in it that really, stirred me. So its best bits are not better than some of those Bay best bits for me, but the worst bits are nowhere near as bad as some of the other worst Bay bits.
So the Beast best bits are not as good as the Bay best bits.
Perfect. And I want that in the description for this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember leaving the Bay movies at the time and having more buzz, despite the bad parts, than I had leaving this movie. So I find it hard to say as an experience, I would rank it above them, even though as an actual movie with a structure and a plot and the kind of more conscious storytelling, the things it does right in a society context is better than virtually all of the other movies. Very hard to rank.
Interesting you brought up the forest scene there, because I think that's what I was trying to say earlier about there's nothing there's memorable Transformers stuff, but there's nothing that feels like it would have made that leap to being like iconic. And I think like the forest fight is one of those things that even if you hate the Revenge of the Fallen, like you remember that from that film. Like, that looked cool. Whereas there's nothing in it that felt like a real signature moment that will be remembered forever, like will be memed or GIF forever and ever.
I think the Mirage thing is pretty close. Him turning into the Lambo and him turning into the F1 car, but I think it's for us, for Transformers fans, that's a big deal. But I don't think for the wider audience they would find that massively memorable.
There's not that massive cool scene where you're like, wow, that just looks amazing.
I think so. And I don't think that's just the passing of time and so many Transformers movies. I think creatively it's still possible to make amazing Transformers moments on a screen.
Yeah.
Like Shatter and Dropkick coming out of the sky as aircraft transforming to vehicles, then transforming to robots. That scene, I'd love to see that again, just over and over. So even the Bumblebee movie had scenes that were like, wow, you know,
yeah, for sure.
the Blitzwing
Frivolous
fight,
pieces of
the Cybertron fight. It still can be done.
Yeah.
I have to say though, I think I'm with Liam. I think that for me, yeah, Bumblebee is still the best. I think this is number 2 for me now. I think
You rate it higher than the 07 movie.
Yeah, because I agree with the distinction. I think although I probably got more, I've no doubt that I got at the time in 07 more of a visceral thrill from watching that film for the first time. That I have to almost separate that and appreciate the film for what it is. And I know that if I sat down to watch the 07 film now, I would enjoy Rise of the Beast more. And I think it does more things. It's got more of the content that I want in a Transformers film at this time than 2007, if that makes sense.
I think on paper that is true for me, but in reality, I guess I just judge it by feeling. And maybe it's fatigue as well. You were talking about fatigue before the start of the recording. I think that's definitely a thing for me.
Yeah, I think there is that element of it. That's a big part of it. And there's no right or wrong in terms of metrics for which to judge this at all.
One great thing about this film is I think it's going to do better on a rewatch for a lot of people as well. I think it's going to be one of those films that the more you watch it, you're actually going to enjoy it more. Because like we're saying about not having that wow factor, but then I think there's going to be a lot of little references that people are going to pick over and spot more on rewatches.
Good point. Did you see the name of the establishment at the end? It was Slizardo. That was the one. I was like, I just got this moment. There's like the white sign at the back where Noah's walking in for his interview. It was like a big sign that says Slizardo. Like
I didn't
just
see that.
him. That was a good reference.
I thought you were going to say G.I. Joe. I was like, yeah, we all saw that, dude.
No. Slizardo.
Did you see the G.I. Joe logo on the G.I. Joe
see
card?
it when he turned the business card up? No, I didn't see that. But no, so I think separating sort of experience, if you like, and first time thrills and nostalgia and all of that, I think on a rewatch I would enjoy this more than 2007. And after that, I do have a ranking for the others. I actually would put them in release order. I think from 2007.
It's got worse as they were.
Yeah, I do. I firmly believe that it was a franchise of declining returns. And I think as much as people grumble about Revenge of the Fallen, I would put Dark of the Moon below it. I would put Age of Extinction below that, and I would firmly put
TLK
at a very well-deserved low last place.
Yeah.
Rock bottom for the franchise.
Yeah.
A mess.
Can't argue with
Yeah.
that.
But, we're not here to talk about that. We'll do that in the Last Night episode when we eventually get to that, after we've done Revenge of the Fallen.
I am really looking forward to watching it. I think it is going to be... I think this one's going to age better than
I think you're right
the
about that,
07 movies. And I think it's going to be one of those, like when sometimes, like at work, you put on an episode of the cartoon in the background while you're doing something. I think this is going to be a film like that, where you do that and there's never a moment where you look over, then you roll your eyes, like, oh, God. It's that scene where someone's weeing on someone or the parents are high.
No, the rotating the rocks and the temple for me is always going to just be like, oh, come off it. That's definitely always going to
Still no one got weed on.
No, I suppose that's okay.
No one got weed on.
That you know of.
Well, okay. I don't care to speculate. Bumblebee definitely didn't wee on anyone. He was dead for half the film.
No, he just got on.
All right. That's a good place to end, I think.
Sixo, can I just ask you one quick question, actually? There's a film I wanted to ask you as well, wasn't it? We were talking about, just to finish up, we were talking about Scourge's henchman earlier. And I know you're a big Beast Wars fan, so do you think it would have been better served if maybe revealing this film, one of those actually turned out to be a Predacon, like say someone like Megatron or something? Do you think it would have worked better if there was a Predacon character there?
Nah, I'm happy with it being separate, honestly.
Really?
Like, I know a lot of people were like, "Where's Dinobot? Where's Rat Trap?" It's you can't have it all. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't Beast Wars the movie. It would have been fun to see that for sure. But
would have preferred it.
Would you? Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
I think it would have given the Maximals a bit more.
Yeah.
If Primal had. I know obviously he had a thing with Scourge, but if something like Megatron turned up, I also think it would have been quit fun to see Optimus Prime baffled by there being someone called Megatron and T-Rex comes rampaging on the screen.
Yeah. It would be a good way to get a Megatron in these films because he's seemingly absent, isn't he? Because he's supposed to be frozen in ice, or is that a thing? Or we don't even know.
Let's just not. Seriously.
Yeah, don't go there. Don't go there, honestly. But no,
I was really hoping we would have seen him just to move on, from the Bay films to definitively say, we're gone now.
I think if they continue down this road, they've got to bring Megatron into it. It's ridiculous to not at some point, but it's That's a story for another day, isn't it? So
Let them come.
right, well, hopefully everybody's beasts have well and truly risen by this point, and if they haven't, well, I can't help you basically because we're done for the evening. But we've thoroughly enjoyed, I think I'm right in saying we've thoroughly enjoyed talking about Rise of the Beasts. Is that right, gentlemen?
Yeah. It's been less painful than I thought it would be. It's actually made me want to see it again.
That's mission accomplished in my book. But if you did enjoy this and you want more of our content, maybe we'll do more on Rise of the Beast, perhaps not. I don't know. We'll see. But we do a lot more on other topics besides on our Patreon, don't we, Maz?
Yes, that's patreon.com/triple takeover for exclusive weekly content, including mini-sodes on all manner of things, be it like a specific team of Transformers or one particular character or a Diaclone or other things like that. We even did Brave. And we have mini-series focusing on IDW More Than Meets the Eye, on Unicron Trilogy toys, and on various 80s and 90s toy lines that we haven't featured in the main episodes. You can get access to episodes early, you can vote in polls, and you can join our fantastic Discord community. So that's patreon.com/triple takeover. And another perk of Patreon is that you get your name read out on the show if you are a Sixo's Butler or a GBC. And I am so burnt by actually making a mistake on the roll call when Hasbro were in the house that I'm actually going to read the names backwards this time. So it's going to be slower anyway, and I don't have to make a mistake that way. So it'll be full of mistakes, but you won't be able to tell because I'm going backwards. So start off by thanking the Mapes brothers, who you might recognize, and thank you to John R. and of course our new patrons at this level. That's Robin Hunt and EMH Richard. But also thank you to the Transformer Closet, Simon the Dash Fox, James Turnham, Adam Brady, Adam Baker. Wow, this sounds weird. Alan Johnson, Spencer Butler, Matthew Dedman, Emperor Galvatron, Riley Lentz, Alec Trevelyan 2022, Goldbolt, Diggity, Chuck, Collecticon, Brandon Mahaffey, James Hook, Spiderboard, Miguel Gonzalez, Absurd, Cam Lee, Darge, Unchrasmatic Ball, Michael Brandt, Calidus, Toy Pocket, Fuzigi, Heinrad 80, Duckstar, Robert R., Cannon, Ali Noon, Stevie P, Rob Packerbush, Squid Catfish, Duggatron, Michael Kegel, Menestrika, Keith, Dogline UK, Jetfire James, Ross, Jeremy Woodall, Tyler Dickinson, Techie James, Windows 6K, Alexis Taylor, Jonathan Falls, Dr. Howard. It is really hard backwards. Maddie Clark, Charlie Chappelle, Juadet Walter, wasn't going to get that wrong, MK Tronic, Jickle, Ghost Prime, James Pascoe, Shaunty Siegel, Jim Kinsey, Steve Redmond, Chris Rodwell, Tyler Husky, Niar Bat, Michael Okono, Bobby P, Eric Hoyt, Black Product, Connor C. Gray Moffat, Andrew Bentley, Mark, Ali Christian Hyatt, Zindius, Ashpol, Josh Bell, Quick Mixed, Esteem, David Shepard, Jason Murray, Zach Lawson, Mythic Gears, CNC, Rick 56, Michael Holmes, Mollis Koenig, Lucas Henkel, Shinsei, Ben Lewis, Tim Banji, Kyler Wilmoth, John Wood, Inbound D, Nice Side Banzani, Jeffrey Freak, Devastator, Cracktastic Plastic, Misha Kid, Josh Schulz, Simon Elvin, Cold Squall, Andy Gold, Billy Gator, Aaron Swoboda, Jim Owen, Nexus, Jesse Moreno, Chris Norris, Shenry, Peter Hampson, Vegemite Mike, Puma the Hunter, Amar, Stuart Webb, Rotorstorm, Jacques Pelletier, Phil G, Captain R. Anthony Carson. Not sure I'm going to read these backwards again. This is just too odd. Troy Swift, John Pearl, Yusufa, Gio Kaiser, Dave Dalrymple, Justin Massaro, Bad Saturday, Stephen Perkins, Matt, Adam Shoemaker, Spiderfather, Chris Preston, Andy, Danny Roberts, and Nick, who you might recognize.
Wow.
What a list.
That was different.
Very.
Did you like it backwards?
No.
You're all right, Maz. I'm just checking because it looked like you were in severe pain by then. I thought you were about
really
to have a stroke or a heart attack.
I kept reading names after names that they always come before, and it was really confusing.
I was like, take a breath, man. Take a breath. Come on. Don't go blue. Don't die on this podcast.
If you want, I can just cut that and just reverse the recording and play it back like that.
Sure, if you want to add to your workload for what has already been a tricky recording.
Yeah, it's been a one tonight, isn't it? We've had a couple of technical gremlins along the way, but never mind. We're ploughing on. And we do have a sponsor for the evening as well. That is tfsource.com. So do check them out for all your Transformers and third-party needs as ever. They've got lots of Rise of the Beast toys in stock right now, so check that out.
And as another person who messaged us asked, old Denzel from Washington asked, guys, can I get some Triple Takeover merch? And yep, you can. If you head over to revelver.com/people
Don't laugh, you'll encourage him.
/explore, you too can get some merch just like Denzel. You can be a man on fire too. And if you want to let us know what you thought of Rise of the Beast, many people loved it. Many people might not have, but get in contact with us. You can find us on social media at @triple_takeover on Instagram and Twitter, and @triple takeover, all one word, on Facebook. Guys, where can they find you?
I'm not telling because I don't want everyone to get angry with me for not having the same opinion of them as the movie. I'm not online this week. Sorry.
Maz hated Rise of the Beast.
No, I didn't hate it. That's one thing I could say for sure. Did not hate it. @TFsquareone on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you wish to vent.
And I am at Sixo TF on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, probably some other places as well.
TikTok.
Sixtalk.
And I'm at Toybox Soapbox. Anyway, there's an app.
Well, that's going to about do it for the old Rise of the Beast chat. So if your beasts haven't risen by this point, then what else can I say but let them come? No one got weed on.